Everybody. Are we all on? Okay, I'll call the meeting to order then. Welcome everybody. I'm Claire Pont, the Mayor of Mid Coast. Members of the public are able to attend the meeting in person or view the meeting live through a web link on Council's website. The meeting is being recorded and a copy of this recording will be placed on Council's website as soon as practical after the meeting. The meeting must not be recorded, distributed or circulated by others without the prior written consent of the Council in accordance with the Council's Code of Meeting Practice. Ask you all to stand, please. I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Gatung-speaking people, and pay my respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who now reside in the Mid Coast Council area. I extend my respect to elders past and the present and to all future cultural knowledge holders. This is the Acknowledgement of Commitment. We, the councillors of Mid Coast Council, will undertake the duties of the Office of Councillor in the best interests of the Mid Coast community and will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in us under the Local Government Act 1993 to the best of our abilities and judgment. Do we have MBA?
We have apologies.
No, NBN.
NBN, yeah, no. We're still doing just in case it show up.
Yes, okay. Seem to have a standing item here that NBN have requested to record visual for today's proceedings. So I'll call for a motion that NBN be granted permission to record today's proceedings. Yes, seconded by Councillor Tickle. All in favour? Thank you. That's everybody. In case they do turn up. Apologies. I will move that Councillor Janice Irving be granted leave of absence. Yes, I need a seconder. Councillor Miller, thank you. All in favour? That is everybody. Thank you. Moving to the minutes of the meeting, I move that the minutes of the 25 March 2026 ordinary meeting, copies of which were distributed to councillors, be taken as read and confirmed as true record of proceedings. Seconder, please. Councillor Wilson, all in favour? Thank you. That's everybody. It's carried. So this morning we had an open forum and a public forum. At the open forum we had one speaker, Ms. Tui Hampson, who spoke regarding the Land and Environment Court order relating to the quarry at Merryweather Lane, Tugrabak. And at the public forum we had four speakers. We had Mr. Major on behalf of the Caravan, Camping and Touring Industry and Manufactured Housing Industry Association of New South Wales, who spoke in opposition to item 14.7, planning proposal, caravan parks in rural and conservation zones. We have Mr. Brian Baker on behalf of Inquiry Property Investments Proprietary Limited, who also spoke in opposition to item 14.7. We had Mr. Michael Summers on behalf of the Foster Aquatic Swimming Club speaking in support of item 15.2, Mid Coast Aquatic Strategy, as well as Mr. John Dunning on behalf of Mile Masters Swimming Club, also speaking in support of item 15.2. Petitions, we have one petition's been received. It's regarding roadside spraying along Comboyne Road at Killabark, and formally table it at the meeting, and it's been passed to staff. I'll call now for councillors or staff to declare any potential conflicts of interest. Councillor Beasley.
I have a conflict of interest in, a non-pecuniary, less than significant interest in matter 17.7, matters before the court, as someone there was on the same ticket as myself at the time of the election.
Someone else? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a less than significant non-pecuniary interest in item 14.7. I've met Mr. Brian Baker, who spoke against item 14.7 in the public forum. I met Mr. Baker in a social setting. I will remain in the chamber.
Thank you. Was there someone else?
No.
Mel, sorry, Councillor Mackenzie.
Same as Phil, listen, Significant non-pecuniary interest in 17.7. I met the man once.
Thank you. And that's it. Didn't Councillor O'Keefe declare one this morning?
Yeah, with respect to the aquatic strategy.
Did you want to do that, Councillor O'Keefe?
I suppose when in doubt, non-pecuniary less significant interest in the 15.2, only due to the fact that one of the speakers at the public forum this morning is an acquaintance of mine.
Thank you. Just you did declare it this morning. Okay, next item on the agenda is, I think, Mayoral Minute, and I do have one this time round. And if you'll bear with me, I will read it. It's about supporting a campaign to increase federal assistance grants to local government. So the Country Mayors Association of New South Wales has invited all its member councils to participate in an important campaign advocating for the restoration of the federal assistance grants to local governments to former levels. The campaign asks the federal government to restore payments to local governments across Australia to at least 1% of total taxation revenue, as was the case in the 1990s. In recent years, there has been unprecedented operational cost increases for local governments, and successive federal governments have rolled back financial assistance grants to about half of 1% of tax revenue. There are other federal grant programs accessed by rural, remote and regional councils in New South Wales, but they are all project-based. Local governments are the backbone of our communities, delivering essential services and infrastructure that shape the daily lives of Australians. Despite this, funding constraints continue to limit councils' ability to meet these growing demands. Lobbying has been undertaken by the CMA, Local Government New South Wales, Australian Local Government Association and many mayors and councils across Australia. Local councils play a critical role in delivering essential services and infrastructure that underpin community wellbeing, economic vitality and national resilience. Increasing local government fees, charges and rates place a direct burden on all Australians and add to their costs of living. Increased federal funding will help to address this. So I'm going to move that Council notes the Country Mayors Association's Invest in Us campaign that advocates for increased Commonwealth financial assistance grants to local governments. 2, notes that campaign materials and information have been placed on Council's website and that the campaign will be highlighted in media release and in discussions with community stakeholders to raise awareness. These encourage residents to also write to members of the Australian Parliament. And 3, agrees that the Mayor continues to lobby for these outcomes and will write to the Prime Minister, Treasurer, Federal Minister for Local Government, Shadow Ministers and our local member for Lyne, expressing Council's need for the proposed funding increase. Doesn't need a seconder, but I'll call for anyone who wishes to debate it. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for bringing this. I think it is a really important campaign. It's one that we have spoken about at community conversations and other places many, many times. I would just like to ask a question to the General Manager. If the federal assistance grant was returned to the 1% where it was, actually on the ground, what does that mean? What impact would that have on Mid Coast Council's budget?
Budget-wise, it's probably an additional $23 million for the purpose of managing our assets. There's a shortfall of approximately $18 to $19 million to keep our road transport infrastructure to a satisfactory condition. That may or may not. That may change with the flood recovery works, but it certainly would satisfy council's long-term financial sustainability issues with respect to road transport infrastructure to a satisfactory condition.
Thank you. Just to continue, if I may, Matt.
Sure.
I think that's really important, extra $23 million coming in as untied funds into council. The problem is it was at the 1%. Having gone back to about half of 1%, it's just putting more onto ratepayers that, frankly, the federal government should be paying because they used to pay. I have heard counter arguments that say from the federal government and from representatives to say, well, we give tied funding for things. But the beauty of the federal assistance grant is that it is untied funds. Council has to be transparent with ratepayers to say what the funds are spent on, as we are with our budget every year. And so local ratepayers get a say on what it's spent on, not someone sitting in Canberra who decides that we're going to give you some funding for a new amenities block that the community might not need. So having it as untied funds that actually takes the pressure off ratepayers And if it's going to have, as the General Manager said, if it could have a $23 million impact, that keeps a very big downward pressure on any rate increases, and I would absolutely support that.
Thank you. So I'll need to put the motion if there's no one else. All in favour? Yes.
Yes, I
I'll
support.
ask you to stand, please. There's convention in this room.
Mayor, according to the code, we are asked to both councillors and staff should stand, not in fact must stand. So I would therefore ask that possibly staff should also stand.
Well, you've got two issues. I'm asking you to stand because you're a councillor, not a staff member. You're suggesting that should implies that we don't need to. I'll refer that to the General Manager.
Modes of address, clause 7.1 of the code, where physically able to do so, councillors and staff shall stand when the mayor enters the chamber and when addressing the meeting. It's been the convention of this chamber that the councillors stand, if physically able to do so, in all my time at Mid-Coast since 2018. So I haven't had a situation where the councillor has refused to stand. If the mayor wishes staff to stand, by all means, staff will also stand. At the end of the day, the mayor is chairing the meeting and we follow the direction of the mayor with respect to the code of meeting practice.
And maybe that's something we need to talk about outside the meeting. Quite happy to have that conversation, and we need to engage with staff on it. But at this stage, we've got a code of meeting practice which has been adopted, and it does say that when councillors address the meeting, they should stand. So I'm going to ask you to stand, please.
So at this stage, I haven't refused to stand.
No.
And again, I just refer back to the model code. So should, must, are they the same word? There is a convention. I understand that there is. And I'm attempting to break it. I'm more than happy to, as I've said, stand for the mayor as the mayor or chairperson of the meeting when they turn up here, and I think that also therefore that if councillors are, shall we say, required to stand, that staff be politely also asked to stand when addressing the meeting.
So my ruling at this stage is we'll stick with the convention, which is that councillors stand. We'll have a discussion with staff about the implications of that later. So I would ask you to stand, please. Thank you. And we will have that discussion.
I look forward to it. So my comment in regard to the Mayoral Minute is that, yes, it's well written. It indicates all the problems that we have quite succinctly, and notes course of action that can be undertaken. Also, of course, when councillors bring motions to these chambers that has a cost implication, that the General Manager will make a comment that states something like what it may be, and possibly, of course, then would ask councillors to make suggestions as to how that could be funded. So I'm just going to suggest two ways that could go into a document like this that could fund this 1% that we so desperately require. So the first one would be to end net zero strategy in Australia.
So, sorry, Councillor, I think you've drifted off. So this Mayoral Minute is about placing the campaign that's been developed by the Country Mayors Association on our website, and me writing some letters in relation to that to the Prime Minister. I think you're now debating a different matter.
I'm not disagreeing with the wording. I'm just suggesting in these chambers that
we're not trying to save money. This is not about us at this meeting identifying ways that we could raise $23 million.
This would be a way, Mayor, that the federal government could raise the other 0.5% that we used to get.
So are you speaking in support or against the recommendation in the Mayoral Minute?
I am speaking in support of it.
Okay, thank you.
And then just to finish that point, the savings would be
I'm sorry, Councillor, but I need to be consistent across the thing. You've drifted right off and you're supporting the motion. I think that's all we're required to hear from you.
Mayor, my second point in regard to that, if you wouldn't mind me just mentioning, is a particularly topical one.
Saving monies elsewhere, which is really often.
Well, it's the
Well, very good.
PRRT, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
And Senator David Pocock and, of course, Punters Politics have made it a very public issue. So they would be things that I think that the federal government could do.
Yeah. And I'm sorry. Sorry.
Point of clarification.
Sorry, I'm speaking. I'm not trying to cut people off. I have a job to try and keep people on the topic of discussion. So that's what I'm trying to do. Sorry, you have a point of order?
No, as clarification, but I think you've clarified. I think Councillor Beasley was trying to say something else and there might have been a misunderstanding, but I'll leave it. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Mackenzie, you're debating the motion?
No, I actually have a point of order.
Yes.
Point of order is that there's been a breach of the Code of Meeting Practice, Clause 7.1. It clearly states in there, and it's not convention, it's not something adopted in this chamber here separate. It is, in fact, Code of Meeting Practice, it's legislation, and it states quite clearly that staff and councillors shall stand if able to.
Says should. We need to have that discussion elsewhere.
Well, it's legislation.
I'm not going to change a procedure on the basis of a hasty discussion in a council meeting. We've got a code of meeting practice. We've been implementing it in a particular way. Let's have that discussion with staff and work out if we need to change the code of meeting practice or our practical practices. But at this stage, I think we just need to continue with the meeting. So thank you for raising it. All right, so where are we going? So are there any other speakers on the Mayoral Minute? No, I'm going to put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. That is everybody.
Unanimous.
It's unanimous. So then we can move to item 13.1, which is matters outstanding. This is put up by the GM, but it provides a list of all outstanding resolutions of council since 1 January 2018. Can I have a mover for that one, please? Thank you, Councillor Howell. No.
Am I?
Yeah, let's
Yes.
do it properly.
I move that the information provided in the resolution register 29th of April 2026, attachment 1, be noted. And I don't
Thank
wish
you.
to speak to it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And the reason we have, by practice, read out the recommendation is there are people who listen online. I can see at the moment there's 53 people there, and some of them won't have the recommendation in front of them. So I think it just helps to clarify. So it's been moved by Councillor Howard. I need a seconder, please. Councillor Turnbull, thank you. Does anyone wish to speak on this one? Councillor Graham?
Just a question to the General Manager, just regarding Resolution 2025/168, just regarding the what's happening with that. That was the
I'm going to guess
about
that's
the shoulder grading machines. Yeah,
Shoulder
just work
grading
up through
machines.
that
I
one.
might just defer to Council's Director of Infrastructure and Engineering, Mr. Scott.
Through the General Manager, the results of that trial have been programmed for a councillor strategic workshop on the 14th of May from memory.
Okay. Anyone wish to speak against the motion? No, I'll put the motion. All in favour? There it is, everybody. Thank you. I keep looking for someone on the screen. We don't have anyone. So that was carried. Moving to 14.1. This is sustainable development. MOD 2025/0264, 15 Pearl Street, Tuncurry, demolition, consolidation of lots and construction of a new residential flat building. Executive Director, Manager, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the General Manager, this modification seeks design changes resulting in a more contemporary design that is compatible with the existing setting. Notably, the changes result in a decrease to the already approved building height. The application was notified to adjoining owners in accordance with Council's community engagement policy and 2 submissions were received. The issues raised have been adequately addressed within the assessment report. Following assessment, the recommendation is that Council approve the modification application subject to the conditions of consent in attachment 1.
Thank you. Mover, please. Councillor Tickle.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. I move that the application to modify MAD 2025/0264, the development consent for an approved residential flat building at 15 Peel Street, Tuncurry, be approved, subject to the modified conditions outlined in attachment 1.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Turnbull. Councillor Tickle.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, this is a modification of consent, and as such, it's substantially the same development, but as noted in the report, it's enhanced in terms of visual presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Turnbull? No? Anyone else wish to speak in support? Anyone speaking against? No one wishes to ask any questions or anything? I'll put the motion. That is everybody. Carried. Moving to 14.2. DA 2025/0913 179 Mudfords Lane, Lansdowne, new dwelling to create dual occupancy. Executive Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the General Manager, this application seeks consent for the construction of a new dwelling to create a dual occupancy over rural land. It's reported to Council for determination as it proposes a variation of Council's local environmental plan relating to rural land driveway access. The application was publicly notified in accordance with Council's community engagement strategy and no submissions were received. Following assessment, the recommendation is that Council approve the application subject to the conditions of consent in attachment 1.
Thank you. Move it, please. Councillor Graham.
I move that the development application DA 2025/0913 for the construction of a new dwelling to create a dual occupancy at 179 Mudfords Lane, Lansdowne, be approved subject to the conditions contained in attachment 1.
Thank you. A seconder. Councillor Mackenzie. Do you wish to speak to a Councillor Graham?
Look, just to say that we do have a bit of a housing shortage, so anything that goes toward that is a good thing.
Thank you. Councillor Mackenzie.
Looking at the size and the location, I can't see any problems with this. As Councillor Graham suggested, more housing that's quite sustainable in that circumstance, not going to upset anybody.
Thank you.
That's fine, I support it.
Does anyone wish to speak against it? No. In that case, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Do you want to speak against it or for it and then ask a question?
Happy to speak for it.
Okay.
Yes, I agree. I'll be voting for this. I have two quick questions through the General Manager to Mr. Scott. They're just in regard to when a driveway joins a road, do we have any particular specifications for how that join is meant to happen? And I ask that because on our roads, one notices that often the destruction of our roads happens at the joins, at roadway joins. So there could be water running down the driveway, which then comes onto our roads. It could be because it's blocking drains. So that's my first question, if we have any particular specifications in regard to joining roads. And the other, which is possibly not to you, but I'm wondering whether this particular driveway then receives another number or perhaps an A or a B or something. Thank you.
Through the General Manager, we do have standards for both urban and rural areas for driveways. They are detailed in our OSPEC standard suites or suite of documents that's on our website in relation to the, that includes not just the specification, but actually a standard drawing, which typically demonstrates that. You're correct in a sense that a lot of people believe that once they leave their property boundary, all of the infrastructure between there and the actual roadway is council's, and that's definitely not the case as outlined on those drawings. The delineation of where the council responsibilities starts and ends and the property owner takes over from there. In particular, in urban areas, it's at the back of the curb. And in rural areas, it's actually at the edge of the gravel formation, which means that most property owners aren't aware that they're obligated to clear out the culverts or any culverts that exist over or under their driveway to make sure that there's free draining. And we do from time to time see bypassing of those due to blockage with gravel and other debris over time. So it is a constant maintenance area for us to work on.
Thank you.
Just in regard to the other question, perhaps it's a question through the General Manager to Ms Pleasant. Does this driveway receive a different number?
The two dwellings will have different addresses, yes. Yep, numbers.
Thank you. Anything further? Put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. It's carried. It's unanimous. Moving to 14.3. DA 2026/0032 at 4859 the Lakes Way Foster. It's a recreation facility outdoor. Executive Manager again.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the General Manager, this development application seeks approval for demolition of an existing climbing structure and the erection of a replacement climbing structure at 4859 the Lakes Way Foster. A variation of more than 10% to Council's local environmental plan is sought to address proposed building height variations, and in line with our Council's determination of applications policy, it's reported to Council for determination. Following assessment, the recommendation is that Council approve the application subject to the conditions of consent included at attachment 1.
Thank you. Mover, please. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that development application, and my screen just moved. Does anybody have it on their screen? I knocked the screen at the wrong time. Thank you, Councillor O'Keefe. Development application DA 2026-0032 for demolition of the existing climbing structure and the erection of a replacement climbing structure at 4859 the Lakes Way Foster be approved subject to the conditions contained in attachment 1. Thank you, Councillor O'Keefe.
Thank you. And a seconder, please. Councillor Graham. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. So there is a height limit that is imposed on buildings, and staff can approve up to a 10% variation. Above 10% does have to come to Council for approval. That is intended for buildings, not for climbing structures. This facility is better known as Camp Elam. There's an existing climbing structure there which has reached end of life. Better to be safe. So this approval just allows them to take that down, put a new one up, and it's quite appropriate.
Thank you. Councillor Grant.
Yeah, look, I'm more than happy to support this. It's just a replacement of existing structure, as Councillor Mills just said. Yeah, great fun for the kids.
Terrific. Anyone wish to speak against it? No? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. That's unanimous again. 14.4 is development activity and assessment performance for January to March 2026. Executive Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the General Manager, each quarter, Council provides a summary of development assessment and building certification activities, and this report presents an update for the period 1st of January to the 31st of March 2026. I'm very pleased to provide a summary. Highlights of the report include Council's average assessment days has met the New South Wales Minister for Planning Statement of Expectations target for the reporting period. Mid Coast Council has assessed the most applications, 646 of any regional New South Wales council during the financial year. Council has achieved better than average in assessment and lodgement timeframes compared to regional councils overall, and we've had a solid result for internal referral timeframes.
Thank you. Mover, please. Councillor Turnbull.
I move that the content of the report be noted.
And a seconder? Councillor Howard. Do you wish to speak to it, Councillor Turnbull?
No, you said all the great things.
Anyone? Councillor Tickle?
Thank you, Mayor. The Executive Manager has certainly highlighted the points that I'm sure all of us around the table have noted, and that is, once again, extremely well done effort from the planning staff in getting the volume through that they have done. It's also worth noting the high economic value that this has. From memory, without looking, it was about 13 mil, was it not? From memory. Either way, it's quite a big number of the economic input that these DAs have. So once again, if you can pass on the congratulations to all the staff involved, it's a meritorious effort all around. Thank you, Mayor. Thank the General Manager.
Thank you. If there's no speakers against, Councillor Beasley.
Speaking in support of this particular motion, just 2 comments. Pardon me, on page 47, under Table 5, Development Activity Data, complying development certificates determined by Council is 4 and CDCs by private certifier 94. We've got construction certificates determined by Council 24 as opposed to 146 by private certifiers. I just think it's food for thought to wonder how Council continues with the current system, considering that there seemed to be, possibly it's a trend, I don't know, but we have very little use made of Council in regard to construction certificates and complying development certificates. And something which I brought up once before is in regard on the next page to external referral times. And they are quite obviously not getting any better. Department of Fisheries is particularly slow, and they are slowing down for us and making, I'm sure, our figures look worse, assessing these particular developments. I think that Transport for New South Wales may have improved somewhat, but it's from a very high number, and at least it's better.
Thank you. Executive Manager, do you wish to comment on that? Yeah. No, that's fine. Councillor Wilson.
I'd just like to remind people who are listening and Councillor Beasley, but we need to maintain the skill of certification because it's our bread and butter when we assess DAs, but also we're the body, if the private sector can't step up, that we're the body that we're required to provide certification for. So we need to retain the skills and competency internally, although it is acknowledged that private certifiers do take a bulk of the work.
Thank you. Any further on this? No, I'll put the motion. All in favour? That's everybody. Thank you. Carried. 14.5 is the on-site wastewater management strategy 26 to 31. It's for adoption. Executive Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the General Manager, this report seeks Council's final adoption of the strategy at Attachment 1 that guides on-site wastewater systems across the Mid-Coast Council area. The report was publicly exhibited in accordance with Council's community engagement strategy, and we received 186 submissions. The submissions largely focused on the proposed funding model, perceived duplication with existing service arrangements, and the basis of the risk framework. All the issues raised are addressed in detail within the report and have informed the recommendations, including a change to the proposed funding model. This report recommends that the exhibited risk-based approach to inspections that propose $380 per system charge for high-risk systems and $76 for all other systems not be adopted, and a flat fee for all systems remain across the LGA. The flat fee is proposed to be $92 per system for the financial year 2026-27. The recommended fee system model is the same as the current model and accordingly will generate an annual income commensurate with what is currently received.
Thank you. Mover, please. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the Council adopt the strategy as attached to the report and adopt a per system service fee model with a fee of $92 per system being the charge for the 2026-27 financial year, subject to annual review.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Wilson. Do you wish to speak to it, Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this came about because there was a push for user pays. There was a big push for a user pays system. And when it came out and was workshopped a number of times, what a user pays system would look like, that's what went out onto public exhibition. And not surprisingly, there's quite a bit of angst on that because it was going to go from $89 per system. A lot of people would then save a little bit of money to go to $76, but some people pay $380 per system, which is a huge rise. And that's based on the fact that those would be inspected every year. I do want to clarify, we talk in this report and other places about a high-risk system. It's actually the location of the system that's high risk. It's not because you've got a good or a bad system or you've just put one in or it's been there for 20 years. It's because if you're in an area that can have runoff into, for example, oyster areas, we've previously seen significant impact to the oyster industry from that sort of runoff. That's what makes it high risk, not because you're a good or a bad maintainer of your system, it's the location. But what this new proposal is based on the feedback, there were 186 submissions. 43% of those came from high-risk properties. And so obviously, if you're looking at your annual fee going from $89 to $380, you made a submission. That's fair enough. So this is now based on if you're in a high-risk area, you will get inspected every year. If you're in a low-risk area, you will be inspected on a rotating system, but everyone will now get inspected on that rotating system. And that's because the staff have done an enormous amount of work behind the scenes. We're aware that there are some people whose systems might never have been inspected. And that's the way it used to be. That's old news. Under this new strategy, everyone gets inspected on a risk-weighted system, but you get a visit and you get inspected. And for that, you pay an annual fee. It's much more equitable to have a flat fee that everybody shares. And that's why we've changed from what was exhibited. Instead of some people paying $380, we're now saying everyone pays the same amount, $92 per system charge, which is the $3 increase on what they paid last year. That's an appropriate increase, and I think this is an adequate and fair sharing of the load.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
I'd like to echo the positive words that Councillor Miller shared about this. And what is important is that the strategy is going to fill the gaps that have been previously identified. So one visit at least every 4 years, or you've got a higher risk. In a higher risk area, you might get a visit every year. So I applaud the work. I also understand that this team is now fully resourced to be able to complete the work.
Thank you. Councillor Tickle first, then
Yes.
Councillor O'Keefe.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'll make 2 points. First of all, the first point is that there was certainly a lot of correspondence in relation to the draft proposal went out, as Councillor Miller alluded to, and Council did listen to that and has responded accordingly. That's the first point. The second point, however, is that the oyster industry and the marine industry at large is extremely vital to this area in terms of economic, but also leisure interests and pursuit. It'd be catastrophic if that was jeopardised. So I guess to call out the public, while the inspections of the septic system, sewer systems will come around, be vigilant yourself. If it's going to be 4 years before you get tested, please be vigilant and keep an eye on your own system. If you know there's an issue or you're concerned about an issue, get it checked out, because so much is dependent upon those systems working, because the impact is catastrophic if it gets in our waterways. And the other point, I guess, is the third point. We haven't got much control over the boats and so on, marine craft that are on our waters. We haven't got control if they do the wrong thing and get away with it, and that is disposing of effluent inappropriately in our waterways. So look, we ask the community to be vigilant on that, and the boat users to be responsible, because the economic lives of so many people are dependent upon healthy waterways. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Mackenzie.
I wish to speak against this motion. This motion was brought about, in fact, due to no action by council or lack of action by council. Council, under legislation, is required to make sure that these on-site systems are inspected quarterly by qualified contractors. So any claim that they've not been inspected is totally erroneous. And if they haven't been inspected, that is then the fault of council. There are no incidents reported. We had one incident involving the lake. After that, we are not inundated by reports that these systems are failing. They're actually inspected, they're maintained, the property owners pay for that and pay expensively and dearly for that. Council's role in all of this is administration. It's meant to make sure that those inspections are taking place. If they haven't been taking place, that's a problem for council to address. There's nothing extra that needs to be done apart from the correct administration of these systems. There's no need for it to change. There's no need for council to be doing the inspections. It's already managed. They're already inspected. The system works. It wasn't broken. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Councillor Mackenzie, at least some of the things that you said there I believe to be incorrect, though I could be wrong. Can I ask for a comment from staff?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just bring to attention of councillors on page 57 of the agenda. It talks about the role of New South Wales Health for accreditation and functions, and also council's functions. So there are requirements under different separate pieces of legislation. I don't necessarily agree, and most councils wouldn't agree with the statement that the inspections aren't required. And it's really common for council officers to go out and inspect systems and there to be issues. And that's certainly not what we want in response to, for example, Councillor Tickle raising about the challenges around aquaculture and oysters.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Councillor Howard.
Two things. The fee has gone from $89 to $92, which is CPI. That's it. Now, Councillor Mackenzie is very big on user pays. You know, if you don't use libraries, well, you shouldn't be paying for the damn thing. You should be closing them. But on this, we've basically decided that somebody shouldn't have to pay $380 for a system while the other people get cut back to 76. You know, at the end of the day, you've gone up $3.
Just hold on a sec, Councillor Howard. Your point of order?
Sure.
I've been misrepresented.
Oh, really?
Quite simply, I've never said
please,
anything about
Councillor
shutting
Howard.
libraries.
Yeah, and I'll support that.
It's a personal attack. Respect.
Shame.
Thank you. I'll support that. He hasn't actually raised the issue of shutting libraries, but continue.
Okay, well, we've all heard it behind closed doors many a time. But anyway, let's go with the fact that we've gone from $89 to $92. It's spread across the entire, network of people that have these type of systems. In real terms, it's bugger all. It's half a cup of coffee a year, and we're worried about this, and we're making a political, a point about it. Let's just be happy with the fact that it's gone up $3, costing people $3 more. Council have committed to check these systems much more rigorously than has been in the past, and I'm quite happy with that. Now, to Councillor Tickle's point that we've got oysters and aquaculture concerns, we also have tourism concerns to consider. The last thing our waterways need is a cryptosporidium outbreak in a place like Fosterton Curry, where suddenly people are, vomiting after being in the lake. So, I think, but it is beholden on council to make sure that we do check these systems. We're going to charge people a fee. We absolutely should be checking them more rigorously. And I'm pleased to have the assurance from staff that that will be the case.
Thank you. There was another hand up. Councillor O'Keefe.
Thank you. Questions, if I may, through the General Manager. 186 submissions, is that a lot for something like this?
Yes, I'll say it would be.
Yeah.
The majority of the submissions, if I recall, was about the fee structure that came in. So the recommendation has been made in light of the submissions received.
Okay. If you can comment on those submissions about the fee structure, did it seem like they didn't seem very clear on what was happening or changing?
There was FAQs, there was some media put out, and we all did a bit of work explaining the fee structure. But ultimately, members of the community felt that the increase of, to $380 odd was excessive.
Okay. And did people in high-risk locations seem aware that they were in high-risk locations?
They would be, yes.
Before this?
All owners of septic systems received correspondence from council advising.
Okay.
So they were aware.
All righty.
Thank you.
That's right. They were aware they were in high risk areas.
Yeah. Was there anything to add there or?
No,
All good?
there's nothing else to add.
Thank you.
Anything further on this one? Councillor Beasley?
Pardon me, just taking up Councillor Mackenzie's point. There don't seem to have been any breaches. Are we not considering what's in the water? Why do we not test the water? We've got plenty of citizen scientists. I know we have them engaged in other activities. It would certainly be worthwhile to test the water and be able to find out where the problems actually are, whether they are compliant or not. May or may not mean that the water is being contaminated in some other way. And of course, there are many ways for the water to be contaminated. It could be from the boating, it could be from agriculture. We know that there's many chemicals used throughout the LGA that are going to find their way down the rivers into the lakes. We know that there are a lot of animals out there, and when I say animals, I mean animals, that are constantly doing their business, shall we say, into the creeks and waterways that make their way down. Are we therefore going to test them? Surely we should just be testing the water and not necessarily having, from what I understand, people without training, as I found out from someone who had asked the two, which was a surprise, the two inspectors who turned up to their house only a few weeks ago, neither of which claimed to have any particular expertise in the matter. This is someone who has an EnviroCycle and who has their system tested 4 times a year and pays that fee, and those reports go to council. So in that case, surely why would one necessarily need a council worker to go and do that? We have in the submissions, and they're quite lengthy, as the General Manager said, the primary concern for people was the fee itself, but then of course they also went on to mention the lack of service, and those people that I've spoken to have said that they, if they've been there long enough, they received an inspection some 10 years ago and have, in this particular area, received inspections, I think, early this year. I also did mention the 200-metre rule, which many have claimed that is arbitrary. The state government's Oyster Industry Sustainable Aquaculture Strategy 2021 uses a 100-metre guideline. There are plenty of, and I'm sure councillors have had a look through the 186 submissions, reasons why people are aggrieved about this. The punishing, so-called, of the compliant is, I think, a very valid statement for these people to make. But possibly most concerning, and if those of us who went through the submissions found ourselves at submission 151, which is a particularly long one, and it's very legal. Violation of the Local Government Act, departure from standards, failure of responsive regulation. It goes on, and I think that because of that, this is the sort of policy which, if it does breach the Local Government Act, and it does include conditions which are actually against those strategies, state government strategies, that this will be something that should actually be referred back for further information. It's from what I read, it's it's something that could have ramifications legally for council, and therefore that's what I would be asking for right now.
Thank you. I need to get some clarity from staff on that, because you said that we're in breach of various acts.
Oh, that's okay. Council's not breaching the Local Government Act. The fee, as set out in council's fees and charges, does not guarantee that we inspect every premise or every system. It's for council to provide the service of on-site sewer. Comments were made with respect to waterways. We have an annual report card on our catchments. It's available on our website. Karua, Capignac, Manning catchments, So all of our main waterways, they do get tested, they get reported on. So I don't know, there's no breach of legislation. The service that we provide is similar to pretty much most council areas. It's no different. In fact, a lot of council areas charge a lot more than what we're charging. They'll charge the annual fee plus an additional inspection fee. We're not doing that. We're not proposing that at all. So ours is to provide the service, an on-site sewer. It doesn't breach legislation.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to put the motion. All in favour?
Right reply, but I think. But I'd like a right reply.
Just a question through the General Manager to the Executive Manager. With the new strategy, are we, the Council's elected body, able to see some performance stats on how the strategy is performing as it's designed?
I think I'll largely have to take it on notice, but I think that we could come up with some metrics to report back to councillors, yes.
Thank you, Mayor, for my right of reply. There's a couple of things to pick up from the debate. The first was when Councillor Mackenzie said that this motion has been brought about due to no action by council. I addressed that in my introduction, and when I moved it, all systems will now be inspected either annually or every 4 years. So there is action by council, and I addressed when I first stood up that yes, there'll be some systems that haven't been inspected, but now they all will be on a rolling roster. Councillor Mackenzie had pushed for a fee-for-service model where people who get the service pay for it. That's the version that was put out on public exhibition. And the feedback from the ratepayers is they don't want it. They don't want a bar of it because some of their fees went up by about 400%. Councillor Beasley read out one of the submissions called about the punishing of the compliant. That submission was based on the huge increase in the proposed fee. So this motion fixes that. Everyone's charged the same. So there's no punishment of the compliant or anybody else. Everyone is charged the same under this. And that's the difference between equity and equality. It is better to share the load across everybody rather than people who need to be inspected every year pays 4 times as much as they used to. The argument, which I heard a couple of times from Councillor Mackenzie and Councillor Beasley, that there have been no major breaches, so why are we doing it, is in my view gobsmacking. We have in living memory had a huge problem that shut down the entire oyster industry in this area. And anyway, are we really arguing that policy should only become up retrospectively and retrospectively, and we should only put in policy after it's happened? The idea that we shouldn't be putting a policy in because there's been no major breaches, so what's the issue? We should be actually proactive and stopping issues before they happen. And then there was the comment from Councillor Mackenzie and Councillor Beasley that it's already inspected by qualified inspectors. Well, as both those councillors might recall, because I think they were both present at that workshop, council does get service reports, around 10,000 service reports a year, and we were told that about 20% of those reports are not compliant. So the analogy is you go and you get your car serviced, but you still need an annual rego check. That's what's happening here. You're trying to pull the two things as if they're the same, and they're not. They're different inspections for different requirements. One's getting your car serviced and making sure you can go on the road. The other's your annual rego check to make sure it's safe. So look, this strategy has been improved by the public submissions. I always like putting strategies out on public exhibition and getting the submissions because pretty much every time it's improved by those submissions, and that is certainly the case here. It's fair, everyone's charged the same, it's reasonable, it maintains safety, and it should be supported.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All in favour? And against? We've got 3 councillors voting against. The remainder voted for. Motion's carried. Moving to 14.6, which is the major event sponsorship proposal for 2026. Executive Manager, I'll get it right.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the General Manager, this report recommends Council provide financial sponsorship for 3-year major event sponsorship package proposals for Old Bar Beach Festival, Barrington Coast Air Show and Barrington Coast Beach Fives. A shift from annual sponsorship to a 3-year sponsorship model under Council's grants, donations and sponsorship program is proposed. And this will allow for increased certainty for event organisers in what is proving to be a difficult environment for events nationwide. The 3-year sponsorship packages are seen as contributors to Council's destination management plan goals to attract and expand new existing events. This recognises the total economic impact of the 3 events is expected to bring over $34 million to the Mid-Coast area.
Thank you. Can I have a mover, please? Who was first? Councillor Turnbull.
Fair enough.
I move that council approve the 3-year major event sponsorship package proposals for Old Bar Beach Festival, Barrington Coast Air Show and Barrington Coast Beach Fives.
Thank you. And you were on the panel, so I think that's fair.
Yep.
Did you wish to second it, Councillor Wilson?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Turnbull?
Look, Ms Pleasant has said the majority of things that I wanted to say. Thank you so much for that. But it really just does make sense to, especially for the bigger events, to pull them together for 3 years so that they've got certainty, we've got certainty, and the community also knows that these events will be coming back for the next 3 years. So it makes sense in events land, it makes sense in community land, and I think it's a great step forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson?
Thank you, Mayor. What 3 wonderful events. The Old Bar Beach Festival, go and check out the combis. Barrington Coast Air Show, so we had it 2 years ago, so it's due again this year. It's going to be bigger than before, and Barrington Coast Beach Fives, which I believe is a relatively new event. Some fantastic big events for the area. So this $90,000 for 3 years for these 3 events, returning about $34 million in economic impact. So that is good for accommodation, good for the retail, good for food. It's great advertising for the area. So we're going to put in about 2% of the return, which is going to be $34 million. So fantastic. I applaud the motion.
Thank you. Anyone speaking against? No? Any further speakers on anything? Councillor Howard.
Well, only just speaking in favour, Mayor, to say how pleased I am that an event I've championed since it was first mooted, the Barrington Coast Air Show, is coming back. We're getting it this year and then in 2028 and 2030. So it's not really over 3 years, that one. It's over... Yes, 3 times 2. It's over 6 years, I guess, in a way, isn't it? So very exciting to have the air show coming back, and looking forward to that being announced, and perhaps some little surprises that will enhance that event coming along. Nothing else we can say at the moment, but keep your ears out, people.
Thank you. Any further? Councillor Graham?
Yeah, look, I will support this. However, I will say that I'd like to see these events down the track maybe stand on their own 2 feet and be able to be self-supporting. But they do bring money and income into the Mid-Coast, so it's a good thing.
Thank you. Anything else? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I will be supporting it, but I'd like to start with a question to the Executive Manager through the General Manager, if that's okay. I support the idea of tying it up as 3 recurring sponsorships, but does that leave room for new opportunities? Is there still room in the budget if a great new event comes along next year? Have we spent everything for the foreseeable future, or is there still room to support new major events as they come along?
I would have to take on notice the exact amount left over, but I understand that there is funds remaining.
Excellent, thank you. That's the main thing, just to make sure that if something does come along, we have some funds remaining to react to it. Thank you for that. Having been working in major events, I understand the relevance of recurring sponsorship and recurring funding. That is very important. It allows these events to invest in their future growth, knowing that we'll be there beside them as they go. So I'm always a little bit, I think the economic impact figures can be a bit rubbery, and particularly having been an event manager who wrote them, sometimes you say, oh, we've got a quadrillion people and they're going to spend $1 gazillion each. But what I think you cannot argue with is the spend map data. So council has access to spend map data, which actually looks at the spending in the local area, and all 3 of these events are undeniable contributors to the local economy. We'd have a look at the Old Bar Beach Festival. Just the figures for Old Bar itself on the spend map data. The visitor spend the weekend before the festival was $570,000. The weekend of the festival, it went right up to $860,000. And then the weekend after, it went back down to $550,000. So the normal level's about $550, $570, and the weekend of the festival, it boomed up to $860. So you can look at projections and economic figures, but you cannot argue with that kind of return on investment. And I know, speaking to the bottle shop at Old Bar, they say the Old Bar Beach Festival is bigger than Christmas for them. It's their busiest weekend of the year, as it is for other businesses in Old Bar. And the Beach Fives, because Councillor Wilson was asking on Foster Main Beach, it was held in December last year. A fantastic way to show off Foster Main Beach with TV coverage and showing it off to tourists. It's a full contact five-a-side tackle game inspired by rugby league and rugby union. So I suppose if you think of futsal is to soccer, then Beach Fives kind of is to footy. Last year, it was the first time it was held. 27 teams, 300 players and about 2,000 spectators, and they're looking to expand that up to 40 teams. I think that's a great event. I'm not particularly sporty, don't ask me sport questions, but this event brings people to the area and it shows off one of our main draw cards being Foster Main Beach. So I think it's fantastic to support it.
Thank you. Any further on this? No, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. That's everybody. Carried. So we're at 14.7, which is a planning proposal, caravan parks in rural and conservation zones. Executive Manager, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the General Manager, the purpose of this report is to outline the outcomes of community consultation on the planning proposal caravan parks in rural and conservation zones. The proposal seeks to amend the Great Lakes, Greater Taree and Gloucester local environmental plans to limit long-term residency in caravan parks within rural and conservation zones to one long-term residency site per 50 sites. The report summarises the 18 submissions received, responds to the key issues raised and confirms that the feedback did not result in recommended changes to the intent of the proposal. It recommends that the planning proposal be referred to the Department of Planning, Housing and Infrastructure to finalise the plan, supporting the use of rural and conservation caravan parks primarily for short-term tourist and visitor accommodation while protecting rural character, infrastructure capacity and natural landscapes.
Thank you. Mover, please. Councillor Howard.
Yes, I move the recommendation that the planning proposal caravan parks in rural and conservation zones, attachment 1, be referred to the New South Wales Department of Planning, Housing and Infrastructure, requesting that the department make the plan.
Thank you. And a seconder, please. Councillor Tickle. Councillor Howard.
I don't really have a whole lot to say about this one, and anything I say might be a little bit controversial after some addresses we heard this morning. So I'll just bow out and just happily vote on the matter.
Yeah, you're happy to support it. Councillor Tickle.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I speak the motion, I have 3 questions, if I may, one at a time through the General Manager. First one to the Executive Manager of Liberal Communities. If a DA in any of the following zones, RU1, RU2, RU4, C3 and C4, if the DA has been lodged but not yet assessed, will the current permissible use of those zones apply to a DA under assessment, regardless of the carriage or resolution of this agenda item?
Through the General Manager, yes. So an application may be lodged with Council until such time as the plan's made, and timing of the assessment outcomes and final plan making is reliant on the state government, should it be supported. It's also noted that since these provisions were reported to Council in December 2025, Council's received 3 development applications regarding caravan parks, which will be assessed under the current provisions. And the draft Mid-Coast LEP places many of the caravan parks in urban environments in recreation zones, which will not be impacted by this provision.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The following questions are similarly connected. Notwithstanding the resolution of item 14.7, will any DA currently lodged under the zones referred to in the early question continue to be assessed with current expediency based on existing permissibility?
Through the General Manager, yes.
And the third one, Mayor, if I may, notwithstanding the resolution of item 14.7, will there remain capacity for spot rezoning on a case-by-case basis to facilitate desirable development in the RU1, RU2, RU4, C3 and C4 zones?
So generally, the state and Mid-Coast Council doesn't support spot rezonings. However, we would consider each planning proposal on its merit when it came in. The draft Mid-Coast LEP has provided a consistent approach, placing caravan parks in urban locations in a recreational urban zone, which will not be impacted by the change. Yep.
Thank you.
May I now speak to the motion?
Sure.
Yes, thank you. There's certainly been some public concern over many years of developments in rural zones particularly, and that's concerning manufactured home estates. The quality of some of those developments, it's not always, the community certainly would not always consider to be in the public interest. What the resolution or proposal does do is give greater certainty for those zones. If it has a rural zoning, it's expected to have a rural use, or certainly that's that type of amenity at least. The same with the conservation zones. There's an expectation of use by the definition of those zones. But there's the current permissibility of having caravan parks, manufactured home estates and the like in those zones. The community have called out loud and clear they do not like it. And we as a council have also shown our hand that we don't like it either. This certainly gives greater certainty for those who currently reside in those zones, that their own amenity, their current land use will be protected and certainly given great account with any future development in that area. It does not stop caravan parks from being developed, but it will allow caravan parks to be established in an area where it's considered the appropriate land use for them.
Thank you. Further speakers? Councillor O'Keefe.
Question or two, if I may, through the General Manager. It's about modular housing estates. Do caravan parks fall under that umbrella somehow? Maybe to the Executive Manager or whoever can answer that question.
Through the General Manager, modular housing estates per se, it works the other way. So a caravan park is an all-encompassing definition. So many things can form a caravan park. The basic requirement, as tested through the court, is that as long as a single caravan is somewhere on the site, you can put a range of other buildings, be it permanent, not permanent, movable, transportable, on the site, and it can still form a caravan park. So it works the other way. The overarching definition is caravan park, and everything else slots underneath it. There isn't a definition, for example, of a manufactured home estate in any of the legislation that's applicable to the assessment. It's always caravan park.
So just to reiterate, there's no clear definition in legislation of a manufactured housing estate.
No, this council has asked the state many times to include a definition of a manufactured home estate in the principal local environmental plan. All the definitions are state standard definitions, and that has been rejected by the state consistently over many, many years, irrespective of the government of the day.
What do we do in the meantime on these sorts of things? Like when modular housing estates come up, because it came up twice this morning in the public forum. It feels like we're not clear on what we can say yes or no to. I don't know if I'm getting my point across, but
Through the General Manager, the purpose of this entire proposal is to address your exact question, because you can't have a manufactured home estate if you can't live in it permanently. And that's the whole intent.
So this is basically our intent to make our own version of the definition.
It's not to make a version of the definition. What it's to do is to limit the long-term use of caravan parks as de facto manufactured home estates.
Okay, and we still wait on the state government for that actual definition.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers, please? Councillor Beasley.
Just for my clarification, perhaps I should ask a question to the General Manager, to Ms. Pleasant. Just so the planning proposal is going to limit one full-time resident on a 50 caravan park. Does this proposal actually change the number of people who are living in caravan parks right now that have been assessed via a previously flexible policy?
The proposal, if made, wouldn't affect current approvals in place. This would only affect future applications that come into council.
Thank you. Now, again, we are speaking here about rural and conservation zones. So when we discuss manufactured housing estates, it would be primarily, well, only, of course, in those areas. Manufactured housing estates as such do create a problem in the community. They therefore create a problem here with councillors and therefore council. I personally would not necessarily support them. However, when I speak to people who have moved there, and we know the ages of those people, they're around my age and younger, they really do love these darn things. I find them a bit unpleasant, but each to their own, of course. I'm not necessarily saying that we should have more of them, but if in these areas where it is deemed appropriate, we're just using a sledgehammer against all of that sort of development. I just prefer in this particular case that it was more flexible, that it doesn't just make something so concrete that there may well be places within the area. And I should note, of course, that these things will change, of course, with the gazetting of the draft LEP, which does deal with this. And in each case, we know that if the developer wished to have the zoning changed, then it would be a lengthy and expensive process for them. So it would probably end that possibility. The submissions themselves, and there was one in particular, well, there are two, of course. One that we've received via email and listened to this morning in Mr. Baker's speech is an existing DA, as is, of course, the much longer standing DA, the Hawks Nest Village Proprietary Limited DA, which does date back a very long time. And the submission does note that there is, and I can't remember the term, it's something like a savings provision, so that I guess this deals with the amount of money that they've spent and then potentially not be able to go forward. But because it's an existing DA, I can only presume that this particular proposal does not prohibit the continuing of that DA. The consideration that we all seem to make is that if we have only one long-term resident, that somehow this caravan park will remain pristine. I don't know how people necessarily operate their caravan parks, but I would think that if there were any number of long-term residents who were downgrading the caravan park itself, it would quite simply just not be good for business. And so I don't know about every caravan park. We know about Gloucester Caravan Park. We know how it got degraded over a period of time. But again, a blanket regulation does seem somewhat harsh. And so with that in mind, I probably won't be voting for this to go through. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with the first bit of what Councillor Beasley said and then kind of drifted. But the first bit he said was that the manufactured homes estate we've got no problems with it in the right place. And I agree. And so a manufactured home estate in a residential or an urban zone or even a recreation zone, no problem at all. This policy only extends to rural zones and conservation zones. And the issue is, well, I actually might phrase this as a question through the General Manager. If a caravan park is approved in any zone, does that then open the door to a manufactured homes estate?
Through the General Manager, if an application was approved for a caravan park and proponent wanted to come in and propose a manufactured home estate, it would still need to make another application. But some would view it as making it easier once you've approved a caravan park.
So it'd be more difficult for council to say no once the first hurdle has been crossed.
We'd have to take each item on merit, but potentially, yes.
And I just wanted to clarify, through the General Manager, something the Director of Corporate Services said. Can it really be the case that the state planning doesn't recognise what a manufactured home estate is? I mean, if you drive past one of those MHEs that looks like a full suburb, what does the planning department think that is?
Through the General Manager, I wouldn't like to presume to think anything that the Department of Planning thinks. That's why I'm sitting in this chair now. What I would say is there is no definition. There is no definition in the standard template to prepare a local environmental plan. In the absence of a definition, the definition of a caravan park comes into play, and that aligns with the state environmental planning policy that deals with caravan parks. So ultimately, what it basically means is if a caravan park is permissible in a zone, you can therefore have a manufactured home estate. So the reality is, if it's an issue in the metropolitan area, it would be an issue here. It's not an issue in a metropolitan area. The other important point to note, as I just mentioned to the Executive Manager, 98% of our local government area is rural. 2% is residential in terms of zonings.
Yeah. So just to finish up, I'll absolutely be voting for this because the other part that Councillor Beasley said was about a sledgehammer and dealing with it in too many places. It's absolutely not that. If you read the motion that's there, it's about these things should be in the right place. And the right place is not a rural zone because that's not where you suddenly put a suburb. And it's not a conservation zone because that's not where you suddenly put a suburb. Urban recreation, other zones, that's not part of this motion. So I'll absolutely be supporting this. I think it's very appropriate.
Thank you. Councillor Howard?
Councillor Miller.
Sorry. I should have checked first. My apologies. Councillor Graham?
Yeah, I'd just like to speak against it. We have an issue where housing is relatively unaffordable for a vast majority of these days. And it's not just in the cities, but here as well. For a new family starting out, it's not impossible to afford a brand new house. Most people will be renting for the rest of their lives. So rural areas, why not? We have huge amounts of rural land, which is not, there's nothing been happening with it because we can't get a DA to build on it, etc. So I think, why not? Provides an opportunity. It gives them a step up. It's not necessarily they're going to live there for the rest of their life, but at least it gives them some start in life. It's better than living on the street and being homeless. So I won't be supporting it.
Thank you. Any further speakers? No? I can see the brain ticking over there. All right, Councillor Howard.
Thank you. Councillor Miller summarised 98% of what I was going to say, but I was just going to reply to Councillor Beasley that this is a sledgehammer trying to crack a nut. I think the problem is sometimes you need a sledgehammer to actually enforce a regulation going forward, because as we know from being councillors, this council has a revenue problem, and a substantial part of our revenue problem is the fact of manufactured home estates popping up everywhere, and us and council not being able to levy rates on many of these residents because they are living in a manufactured home estate, yet we still have to provide services for them. They still drive on the roads, they still flush the toilets, they still, use the services that council supplies. So at some point, you've got to put a line in the sand and say, if the state government won't do something here, then council needs to put something in place and make the choice ourselves. Now, it quite well be that a developer may take the council to court and we'll lose in the Land Environment Court, or it'll be an argument in the Land Environment Court. But still, we have to take a stand at some point, and this is council, in my opinion, taking a stand.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. And those against? So 2 councillors voted against, the remaining voted for. The motion is carried. Moving to 14.8, which is a half-yearly climate change update. Executive Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the General Manager, the purpose of this report is to update Council on progress implementing the climate change strategy during the 6-month reporting period. It outlines how Council is responding to climate change through risk assessment, adaptation and mitigation, and demonstrates progress towards Council's commitments to reduce climate risks, build resilience and work towards net zero greenhouse gas emissions and 100% renewable electricity by 2040. Key actions delivered during the reporting period include progressing the integration of the Climate Risk Register into Council's corporate risk framework, contributing to New South Wales planning reforms and climate hazard policy work, advancing climate resilient land use planning through the draft Mid-Coast LEP, progressing water security and effluent management projects, participating in low carbon concrete and circular economy initiatives, advancing coastal management programs for Old Bar, Manning Point, the Open Coast, Manning River Estuary and Southern Estuaries, supporting living carbon grants for biodiverse forest planting, delivering community waste reduction initiatives, commencing landfill gas flaring at Tuncurry, with Taree to follow, and progressing the FOGO facility, transitioning street lighting and large electricity sites to 100% renewable electricity, installing solar and some other activities.
Thank you. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm very happy to move that the half-yearly climate change report be noted by Council.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Howard. Do you wish to speak to it, Councillor Miller?
The Executive Manager's already done an excellent job. But the things to point out is that climate change resilience has now been embedded in the update to the New South Wales Environmental Planning and Assessment Act. So it is a requirement to consider and plan for climate change resilience. It's there in the Act, and so Council has to do it. And frankly, I'm very happy that we're doing it and we're doing excellent work. As was mentioned, Council is part of a working group looking at low carbon concrete. We did some work with this when I was involved in the construction of First Steps Count, looking at alternative materials and different ways to increase the use of recycled material in concrete. It has no effect on the strength of the concrete, that's been tested, but just makes the concrete, frankly, often cheaper to make. You have to extract less out of the ground to make it, and it makes it easier to recycle next time. Also, the circular economy development, well, we've already seen a new industry, maybe more than one new industry, and employers come to our area to capitalise on the circular economy, and I'm sure there'll be more, so I'm glad we're taking the lead on that. And the landfill gas flaring, now that started at the Tuncurry Waste Management Centre. What that does is it captures the methane from landfill and flares it to make it less harmful to the environment. It's a good thing. There's a lot to like in this update. There'll be some who, I don't know, knee-jerk religious grounds are against anything that says climate change, but the fact is, as I started, it's now embedded in the New South Wales Environmental Planning and Assessment Act, so we have no choice. We have to plan for it. We are planning for it, and we're planning very well.
Thank you. Councillor Howard.
I don't wish to speak to it, Mayor.
Thank you. Is anyone else? Councillor Graham.
Why not? So I guess if you're surprised, I'm going to speak against it for a number of reasons. First is the NARCLIN projections. Very inaccurate, and they have proven to be so. They're based on numerous different models at a global and a regional level. They're not linear. They're not unable to predict variations such as our flood we had recently. They're just impossible to predict that. And at a mid-coast local level, it just cannot. They're just not accurate enough to be able to determine what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. And it's based on assumptions. So what you put into it is what you get out. So if we've already seen that the climate projections for the sea level data haven't been accurate for the last 15 years. So why we still go down this track? Second thing is this carbon concrete. It's a relatively new thing. There is not as an engineering point of view, it does take longer to cure. It's based on byproducts from other industries, which are very variable. So you get a product that isn't consistent. We haven't got decades of research. Engineer can't just go and look up the stats for that. They just don't exist. We haven't got. At least we go with standard concrete. We know where we stand. We've got the calculations. We can put the mixture in there. We know it comes out. It's just not the case with this new carbon concrete. So yeah, I won't be supporting this update.
Thank you. Further speakers, Councillor Wilson.
Just a question without notice to the Director of Infrastructure and Engineering. When you drive around, we can see a number of the switchboards that have been raised for pumping stations, I'm assuming, above a flood level. There was a project to go and do that through the council. And why did we choose to do that?
It has been incorporated as part of our renewal program, but we were successful in getting some grant funding about improving the resilience of our infrastructure. So the switchboard levels, the lower levels, they're going to be impacted by water and ingress into it, requiring typically replacement of the components and rewiring post-flood event. In the more recent flood events, we had far less damage as associated with that, simply because the switchboards were located higher relative to the flood level. I won't say that we had no damage, because the flood level surpassed the level that we'd done that, and did get into the bottom of some of those raised switchboards, and impacted cables and different pieces of equipment from that. So it is all about improving the resilience of our infrastructure though.
Okay, so thank you. And the resilience would be because of the flood water, and I would say that's linked to climate. And it's also interesting with the old Manning Point Coastal Management Plan, there has been a lot of modelling done on what's been happening with erosion due to climate change, and we have actually seen lots disappear into the ocean because of through the erosion. So we know it's happening, and we need a plan for resilience, and this is it. So I'm pleased we've got a strategy here. We've got a plan, and we're reporting on it, because change is happening around us, and we need to change. Otherwise, we won't be resilient.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Councillor Tickle.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just to bring context around this report, it's not a discussion whether or not you agree that climate change is upon us, or whether it's a fallacy. There was a policy established by Council in 2019. This report is in relation to that policy established in 2019 to keep the elected body informed, and indeed the public informed, of the progress and the back of that strategy. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Further speakers? Councillor Beasley.
If indeed there is a climate change risk, it's very useful that Council is assessing it, and that if climate is changing, that we do adapt, that if we do get more floods, that we deal with them, that if we do get more bushfires, we attempt to make the whole area more resilient. The religious belief, I would think, taking up Councillor Miller's comment, is that by changing the amount of carbon dioxide in the air, that this will somehow fix that problem, and that we will get some sort of constant weather for the foreseeable future. Increased carbon dioxide in the air is excellent for all the plants. There's many claim that, in fact, we are in a carbon dioxide drought, that since the late 80s, when NASA had begun to take photographs of the Earth, they've noticed an increased greening of the world that I think they claim was 70% produced by an increasing amount of carbon dioxide in the air, and this primarily in as dry a continent as we live in would be a good thing. Just to take up the points which I was trying to make in the Mayoral Minute, of course, if we were to have our federal government drop net zero, we would also, of course, rather than be constantly trying to cut costs here in council, we would have plenty of money and be able to do a huge number of things, and not in regard to this, of course, PRRT, increase that, tax the gas that comes out of the ground and not the profits. It's a very nice piece of trickery, which, of course, the best accountants in the world can foist upon us.
Thank you. Further speakers? Councillor Mackenzie.
Bit of a juxtapose here for me. We're required to do this by state government, so why it even has to come before council, apart from maybe to inform the public, has been mentioned before. I can somewhat understand that. The unfortunate terminology of it, climate change, well, the climate's been changing since the world's existed, so that's, to me, a ridiculous proposition. We certainly have a pollution problem. I think if we spend more time concentrating on fixing our pollution issues than we did in trying to fix something that's been around for arguably millions of years, we also know that we have, and it has been admitted by many governments throughout the world, man-made climate change, manipulation. So once again, if we're going to do something about so-called climate change, maybe if we left it, the world's climate to the Earth and its atmosphere to look after itself, I think we've done fairly well up to date. We're all still here and we're all still alive. Whether to vote for it or not, as I say, it's a juxtapose. I mean, we're required to do it. I just think that some of the aims of it are totally wrong. To those ends, I'm out of town.
Thank you. Further speakers? No? You can have that.
Well, I said there might be some reactionary knee-jerking, and I wasn't wrong. I suppose what I would say, I'd encourage all councillors to look beyond the title of the report and don't just say, climate change bad, ooh. I think it was surprising to hear reference of the photos by NASA because I would have thought that the moon landing was faked, and the photos, if you look at the photos of the Earth, it's flat. So that proves that one. But if you actually read through the title and look at the report, you'll see what's happening. It's not knee-jerking to some what you call invisible gas and, I don't know, international conspiracy. It's using recycled material in concrete. Good. Circular economy that reduces waste. Good. Additional bores at the Nabiac bore field so we can have some water. Good. Coastal management plans that deal with the coastal erosion that we can see is happening. Good. Community garden with local residents volunteering to grow veggies and fruit for the community. Good. This report is great and should be supported. So look past the title, look past the knee-jerking, look at the content, and I'm sure you'll be able to support it.
Thank you. I will put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. And against? Three councillors voted against and the remainder voted for. It's carried. We were only noting the report too, guys. 14.9 is development determinations for March 2026. Executive Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the General Manager, the purpose of my final report outlines the development determinations issued during March 2026. Attachment 1 identifies 76 development applications were determined, and the recommendation to Council is that the report be noted.
Thank you. Move, please. Councillor Tickle.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the report be noted.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Howard. Councillor Tickle.
It's just briefly, I want to highlight one thing because it's something that's happening across a lot of councils because state government have expectations and certainly mark councils on the speed of development applications, how long things are dragging out. It puts a fair onus on those who are submitting DAs to make sure they've got all their ducks lined up. In other words, if you want your homework marked, don't leave any unanswered questions. And if you get a request for further information, respond to it because the DAs won't sit there forever. As you have evidence here, there are 63 applications were either withdrawn or returned to the portal due to inactivity by the proponents. And this council is not alone in that. The state government want the stats higher. This is one of the maybe unintended consequences of that. So it's up, people need to understand that, you put a DA in, make sure you have all the information there.
Thank you. Further speakers? No? Oh, Councillor Beasley? Yep.
That's absolutely true, Councillor Tickle. I'm one of those people. I'm one of those people who's seeking a construction certificate and I've been asked for further information. I didn't quite obviously provide all the documents and it's a little bit difficult as just someone who is not in the building industry to be able to know exactly what is required. I think I'd mentioned this before. It would be useful, say, to have some sort of I don't know whether we should have it or whether the planning portal should have it. Probably the planning portal should have it to give people a simple and obvious way to know what the process is. I hope, Councillor, by the next meeting, I'll be off that list.
Thank you. Further speakers? No? Put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. That's carried. It's unanimous. Thank you, Executive Manager. We go now to 15.1, which is tender for the Cedar Party Recreation Reserve multi-purpose building. Executive Manager, other end of the table.
Thank you, Mayor. This report presents the outcome of the tender process for the construction of a multi-purpose building at Cedar Party Recreation Reserve in Wingham. The facility will replace infrastructure damaged in the 2021 flood event and will support current and future users of the reserve, such as the Manning Model Aero Club and Wingham Music Festival.
Thank you. Move it, please. Councillor Graham.
Okay, I move that Council 1 award contract MCC -26-050 Cedar Party Recreation Reserve multi-purpose building to Daniel Stallworthy Building Proprietary Limited, and 2 authorise execution of the contract by the General Manager.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Miller.
Councillor Mackenzie just.
Yes, just noting that Councillor Mackenzie's leaving the room. Did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Graham? No? Councillor Miller?
Thanks, Mayor. I'm glad that we put together the master plan for the Cedar Party Recreation Reserve. I still have to remind me, it's the old Wingham Racecourse. So I just need to get used to not calling it the racecourse, it's the Cedar Party Recreation Reserve. But that whole master plan is quite exciting in what it'll bring to the community and what it'll allow for things like the Wingham Music Festival and the model airplane and the other users of that area. And this is a good step in the direction of that, so I support it.
Thank you. Other speakers? Nothing. I'll put the motion. All in favour? That's everybody present, noting that Councillor Mackenzie is not. Carried. 15.2, Mid-Coast Aquatic Strategy. Mr. Woolley.
Thank you, Mayor. This report presents the Mid-Coast Aquatic Strategy 2026 to 2035 for endorsement, outlining a long-term framework to guide the planning, provision and enhancement of aquatic facilities across the region. Informed by extensive community consultation and stakeholder engagement, including more than 130 submissions received during the public exhibition period, the strategy aims to balance community expectations with financial sustainability, ensuring a coordinated approach to managing aquatic assets both now and into the future.
Thank you. Move, please. Councillor Graham.
Okay, I move that the Mid-Coast Aquatic Strategy 2026 to 2035 be endorsed.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Tickle. Do you wish to speak to it, Councillor Graham?
Just briefly. Yeah, look, we do need a strategy. I do note that in here that we run a deficit of about 2.7 million. So it is a service to the community, but a business does exist to run it, and the ratepayer does prop them up. So it would be nice to see that approach zero, I guess, in line with the CSP to make things more financially sustainable.
Thank you. Councillor Tickle.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Any further speakers? Councillor O'Keefe.
Thank you. A few questions through the General Manager to the Executive Manager, I believe. It's regarding the tea gardens, folks, in this area, tea gardens pool specifically. Do you feel that Council has fully considered the future population likelihoods or realities in the area?
Through the General Manager, yes, I do. Future population forecasts were considered in the development of the strategy. So we use demographic modelling, so ID informed decisions to plan for future assets, in this case, aquatic facilities. In terms of the population growth that they're forecasting through to the end of the strategy, they're modelling an increase in population from, say, 6,300 now to approximately 7,000 people by 2035. So not a huge increase in population there at the moment, despite some of the planned developments down there, Parry's Cove, North Shearwater developments and the like. That's equally true for other parts of the region like North Tuncurry and Brisbane developments. We haven't taken those into account either. That demographic data gets updated on a regular basis. It was last updated in January last year.
So apparently, I'm told 11 DAs are in the pipeline. That's not mentioning state significant developments, of which there are at least 2 on the board. Mr. Dunning, who spoke earlier, who was in the development game for quite a while, has told me that if you take 2.2 residents per domicile, 1,250 future residences, that could put you at just under 3,000 more people in the next 10 years. Is that inflated, perhaps?
Oh, perhaps. Probably a question for one of my colleagues, but there's speculation in those numbers. But it's still, in terms of the hierarchy we used, we assessed the Tea Gardens facility as a neighbourhood facility. As a neighbourhood facility. The next highest categorisation was a district level facility, and you're talking about a population above 10,000 people. Even with an additional 3,000 people into Tea Gardens, you're still within that neighbourhood categorisation.
Okay, that was my next question about neighbourhood versus district classifications. I'll take it what you said about numbers from council's point of view, but considering other towns, villages nearby, does that not put us anywhere near the 10,000?
Through the General Manager, that takes into account population in Narong, Bundabar, Pindima, North Arm Cove as well.
Okay.
So they're all within that 15, 20-minute catchment that the aquatic facility considered.
All right. Is it the case that to become district or up from neighbourhood, you have to tick all the boxes, which are on page 20 of the
through the General Manager, no, you don't have to tick all the boxes, but it's also not particularly relevant. So it's not going to see upgrades happen more quickly if it's a district level facility than a neighbourhood facility. We'll still work with the key stakeholders on the actions in the plan. We'll work with them to seek external funds where we can, and if that brings some of those actions forward, then we'll seek to do that.
Sounds good. Thank you. One other question is the open season. Is it in any way likely that it could be extended, as was suggested this morning, from, I believe it was September to June?
Can it be? It can. But you're talking to Councillor Graham's point, it comes at a cost. So all of our facilities operate at a loss, and that loss, it varies across the range of facilities. That would ultimately be a decision for council to make at the relevant point in the track.
If I could just say, the council would have to look at holistically with all its other aquatic facilities if it decides to make a change to the facility down south.
Okay. If I may speak to it. Thank you. I'm from Hawke's Nest. I live there. As earlier said, I'm acquaintance with Mr. Dunning, who's also from Tea Gardens. We've covered all through the questions a bit of what I was going to say, but I'd just like to point out that the prevailing community sentiment in my area where I live is that if the pool were a little more, for lack of a better term, up to scratch, we'll say, in terms of the ageing, changing room facilities, the toddler pool, which has seen much better days, and the extension or the length of the season overall, it would be used a lot more throughout the year. Just as a list, the Mile Masters, which is people of a certain age bracket, very good on fitness. Aqua aerobics, aqua fitness, aqua therapy, aqua zumba. It's used for hydrotherapy and physiotherapy rehabilitation. The local Tea Gardens Public School use it for swimming carnivals and learn to swim. There are private learn to swim and squads, many social groups, and of course the holiday population boom, which we see regularly. And I can comment directly on that because in the last month, despite the pool shutting at the beginning of the school holidays, we saw, I couldn't say the exact number, but easily in the thousands extra people coming in because the weather's been quite nice, especially compared to last year. So I would urge council to take into consideration these sorts of realities. Still not sure whether I want to vote for or against it because I would like Tea Gardens to be considered more towards the district side of things. But you're saying that, or am I interpreting that that wouldn't necessarily change how fast things got done? Is that, I'll ask you if that was the case.
Through the General Manager, yes, no, it won't necessarily change that. So I guess to compare it to our district level facilities that are identified in the strategy, you're comparing it to the Manning Aquatic Leisure Centre and the Great Lakes Aquatic Centre. There is a difference in the catchment areas that they're serving, the population base that they're serving, but it doesn't necessarily change the prioritisation. There are a whole lot of factors that were taken into account in determining whether it was a short, medium or long-term priority, or it wasn't a priority at all. And there were plenty of things that were considered not to be priorities.
Right. Well, then I think I'll be voting for this in the sense that I want the local community to work hand in glove with the council on getting things like extra funding into the future. Thank you.
Yes, the GM would like to make a comment.
Just in response to some of the speakers this morning, they spoke really well. If councillors go to the report in the business papers on page 79, you'll see with respect to the Tea Gardens Pool Extend Season submission, we've brought forward from medium-term action and to look at that as a short-term strategy. Likewise with the Great Lakes Aquatic Centre, we've brought that forward from a long-term action to a medium-term priority. So we certainly have considered the submissions received. Sometimes they're not exactly what the submitter is after, but note that both submitters who spoke this morning were in support of the aquatic centre strategy, or aquatic strategy.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. Who am I going to send this? To the Executive Manager through the General Manager. Even so, if we increase the hours at Tea Gardens, and I'm sure we're going to look at what that cost is, ultimately it's going to cost us more because it's currently $14 per subsidised. Sorry, 14. We subsidise every visit by $14, which is $2 per ratepayer. So ultimately, that money is going to have to come from somewhere else. If we extend the hours, are we going to make money, or we're just going to make more of a loss?
Through the General Manager. So the action is to investigate heating. So through the provision of heating, we predict that we'll get a lot more people using the facility at the start and the back end of the season. So there are limitations with water temperature on activities like learn to swim, so kids' activities at the start and the back end of the season, and other activities like aqua aerobics. They tend to want the water temperature to be 26, 28, 30 degrees. So heating it will definitely generate a whole lot more utilisation. As the action says to investigate, we fully need to understand the costs and the benefits of all the options in that space.
Okay, so I'm looking at the figures here. It's going to increase the cost, isn't it?
Well, it will, but it might also generate a whole lot more utilisation and income as well.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor, has to be a question?
Just a question, yeah.
Yep.
My question would be for the Executive Manager of Public Space through the General Manager. How are the pools actually heated? Is it just by solar, or is it electricity, or what's the most effective method? Cheapest, I guess.
Through the General Manager, there are a range of different ways of heating them. So some of our facilities operate with heat pumps, others use solar for heating at the moment. Depending on where you're located, the age of the system, that determines how effective they are. Electric heat pumps tend to be what is used in facilities such as ours at this point in time, because they provide the most instantaneous increase in temperature at, not as cheap as solar, but certainly much more effective.
Yes.
Would the solar panels we've got at some of these installations, would they offset the cost of the heating?
Through the General Manager, yes, they will. Yep.
Yep. Finish. Councillor Howard.
Firstly, it's wonderful to hear Councillor Graham ask a question about solar, using the Earth's resources that are free, basically, from the sun to provide wonderful warmth for the pool. It's wonderful to hear. That means he's slightly on board with climate change and using the resources.
Wouldn't push your luck.
Now, the one thing I would say just in response to Councillor O'Keefe's comments, whilst I understand he's making the case for his community, and I think that's admirable, I would point out that on page 77, it does list the fact that Tea Gardens Pool, amongst all of our facilities, lose a considerable amount of money per year. In Tea Gardens' case, it's $209,000 a year that the facility is already losing, and that subsidised cost per visit is over $14 a person. Now, one thing I would suggest that would be a good way if they want new facilities would be for the community to look at doing some of their own fundraising for those facilities. There are wonderful ways, I'm sure, to raise funds. And yes, it does take time and it does take effort, but it's what our parents would have done. It's what our grandparents would have done. They wouldn't have just relied on council to be the saviour. So I would always suggest that, people can, look at raising funds for their own community. Council would be more than happy to support that where possible.
Thank you, Councillor. Don't think there's anything else. Oh, Councillor Beasley, I was trying to look at names missing. Go ahead, please.
Yes, indeed, Councillor Howard, what our grandparents would have done was build an ocean pool, as the people in Foster did in 1935, and it's still there. As the Mayor previously said in private at Blackhead, that ocean pool is tended and looked after by, I think, 50, very active still people who look after it. I hope the same happens at the Bullring. The submissions that appear on page 79, of course, are primarily from Wingham, who no longer have a pool, and then Tea Gardens, Gloucester, and Foster, of course. I was surprised by the number of submissions from Pacific Palms and Palm Lake. Did I say that? My apologies. Pacific Palms and Smith Lake. Now, we've got a lot of water. There's no doubt about that. We've got a couple of lakes and we've got all of those beaches. We've got so many beaches that would suit an ocean pool. I wonder if I could ask a question through the General Manager to Mr. Bully in regard to that. Do we have a policy that deals with ocean pools?
Through the General Manager, not to the best of my knowledge, but from a estate planning perspective, I do understand that it's very difficult to get them approved at the moment, as our colleagues in Port Macquarie Hastings could attest to.
Further question to Mr. Bully. Would you know off the top of your head what sort of costs council might have in maintaining them at the moment? That would be both the Bullring and Blackhead.
I don't have that information at hand. I'd have to take that on notice.
Okay, thank you. Disappointing to find out that people are, other councils are finding it extremely difficult to be able to construct something like that. They're there year round. They clean themselves apart from the sand. They're available. They can be calm. They can be rough. Calm, of course, is a great place for people my age and older and younger. Great for the kids. You can swim whenever you like. It won't be closed. And it does, because down our area, it's great to have the beaches, but they are very rough an awful lot of the time. And if you find yourself a quiet corner, you'll find a decent rip which will take out surfboard riders, including yourself without a surfboard. So it's something that I might consider a little further and get some more information from the Executive Manager at some later stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, the Director's got some answers.
Through the General Manager, just a point of clarification, whilst there are a lot of beaches in the Pacific Palms, Smith Lake area, many of those beaches are actually not council controlled. They're National Parks beaches, and we would not be able to put any ocean pool on a National Parks beach.
Can we put one at the new beach?
Never been to one. That's a matter for you, Councillor Beasley.
Any further speakers? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I've been watching with interest the debate at Hastings about the ocean pool there, where I believe, unless I'm wrong, the Libertarian councillor at Hastings voted against the ocean pool there. But I think that the ocean pools that we have are fantastic. It'd be great to see more in this area. Just to bring it back to the aquatic strategy, there's been some points made, but I want to bring it back to what I said earlier, which is every time we send something out on public exhibition, it comes back better because of the comments made by ratepayers. And that again is the case here. So sometimes people vote against putting things out on public exhibition. I'll always vote for it because it's always great to hear what the public have to say and how we can make a strategy or a policy better from it. So as been mentioned, the 50-metre outdoor pool at Great Lakes, the proposed, has been moved from a long-term project to a medium-term project. I think that's great. Wingham Pool has been adjusted to a short-term project for obvious reasons. And I do want to take a second just to congratulate the community group that took over the management of Wingham Pool. It was a tragedy what happened to the pool because that group was kicking goals and doing such a fantastic job as a community that took over the management of their pool and made it a true community asset. And they were doing a fantastic job. Although council was still putting a lot of money into it, the community was doing the day-to-day running. The other piece was the tea gardens to investigate the water heating. That's moved from a long-term to a short-term. And there was about aligning the pool operating dates with school holidays. I know in the submissions that was brought up in regard to tea gardens and Gloucester pools. I'd like to look at it for all local pools. As Councillor O'Keefe said, it is quite strange. I think we align it at the moment to daylight saving time, which when daylight saving time falls in the middle of the school holidays can be quite strange. And I think every school holidays we get comments, particularly from Gloucester, but also from Taree because the outdoor pool closes, and from tea gardens and other places. You know, if it's open 1 week of the school holidays and then closes the second week of the school holidays, people find that a bit strange, and I think that's fair. So I understand there's a cost with that, but I would like to look at aligning the operating dates, opening and closing with the school holidays if we're able to do that. And just the comments earlier about, yes, it will increase the cost. So if you do the heating or you put a 50-metre pool in or you keep the pool open for longer, it will increase the costs. But it also, as the executive manager said, if it increases the usage, it may not increase the loss. Of course, I hate talking about costs and losses when we're talking about community assets, because this is actually an investment in our community, which we should all support.
Thank you. Anything else? Yes.
Through the General Manager to Mr. Bully, as Mr. Dizelle has just stated, in the Pacific Palms area, the beaches, some of the beaches are within national parks. Could you tell me which ones are and which ones aren't? Because I would expect that, say, Bluey's, Boomerang and Elizabeth Beach would not. And if you wish to defer, of course, to Mr. Dizelle, that's absolutely fine.
No, through the General Manager, Elizabeth Beach is primarily National Park, and Bluey's and Boomerang are Crown land for which Council is responsible.
Thank you. All right. Councillor Tickle has left the room. Are there any further speakers on this? No, I'm going to put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. That's everybody present. It's carried. Moving then to 15.2. Sorry, 3. Mid-Coast Community Land Plan of Management. Executive Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This report recommends adoption of the Mid-Coast Community Land Plan of Management, which provides consistent framework for the use and management of community and Crown land across the region. Developed through consultation and public exhibition, the plan of management meets legislative requirements and supports sustainable long-term management of parks, reserves and other community land.
Thank you. Mover, please. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council notes the information contained within this report and the Council adopts the Mid-Coast Community Land Plan of Management for implementation as per Attachment 1.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Beasley. Councillor Wilson, do you speak to it? Councillor Beasley, do you wish to speak? Any further speakers? No? Put the motion. All in favour? That is everybody. Motion's carried. Noting that Councillor Tickle's still not here to vote. Moving to 15.4. This is the NAIDOC funding. Mr. Bully.
This report seeks approval to allocate funding under the 2026 NAIDOC funding program to support community-led events celebrating Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture. Following assessment of applications, funding is recommended for 2 organisations to deliver inclusive NAIDOC activities across the region.
Thank you. Mover, please. Councillor Howard.
Yes, I move the recommendation that NAIDOC funding be allocated to the following applicants: Tea Gardens Hawk's Nest Aboriginal Reference Group, $4,000, and Foster Local Aboriginal Land Council for $4,000.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Turnbull. Do you wish to speak to it, Councillor Howard?
Only to say that I was very proud to be on the funding panel that recommended these allocations and hope that they're used effectively.
Councillor Turnbull? No? Any further comment? Councillor Miller?
Just a question through the General Manager. $16,000 was set aside for the NAIDOC funding under the policy. So this would mean there's about $8,000 left. What happens to that $8,000?
Through the General Manager, yep, the balance of funding will be returned it's identified as budget savings and allocated by my esteemed colleague at the other end of the table.
Corporate services stolen is what you're saying. No, that's fair and that's appropriate, and so that goes into a budget saving, which is an important thing to do. But the fact that we only allocated half of the available money, I would encourage other groups to apply for this funding in future, because I know we have seen funding from other groups that didn't put an application in this time, and I would certainly like to see the money spent as intended. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further speakers? No, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. And against? So there's one councillor voted against, the remainder voted for. It's carried. Moving to Councillor Tickle, it's re-entering the room. We're at 15.5, Public Spaces and Sustainable Development Monthly Project Status Report. General Manager, your name's on this one.
So the purpose of this report is to provide an update on all of our projects in the public space and sustainable development divisions, provide transparency to the community where the projects are up to, and provide a status update.
Thank you. Mover, please. Councillor Beasley.
Such a surprise, Mayor. I move that the Public Spaces and Sustainable Development Monthly Project Status Report be noted.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Miller. Councillor Beasley. Do you wish to speak to it?
Yes, yes, that's why I'm standing up, Mayor. There was something which I brought up earlier. It was in regard to Smith Lake Backyards for Biodiversity Program, which I think is a very good idea. We do have weeds. We all have weeds, but we've got some particularly invasive ones in a particular area. We are bounded by a very large area of community land, which is, as far as I can tell, where most of these darn weeds come from. And as much as we try to get rid of them from our own gardens, they keep turning up again. I had a visit some time ago from council. They were two very, what would you say? They were intent. They really had to get in. They really had to have a look around my garden. I was reluctant. Nevertheless, I allowed them in eventually, and I would say they did a rather good job. They were helpful in getting rid of some of the weeds, actually gave me a council knife, which I'm sure at some stage I'll give back. And they also took out from my garden a rather dangerous plant all by themselves. So in general, this is a very good idea, and I'll be supporting it. So, supporting the report.
Thank you. For the speakers, Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I echo Councillor Beasley's words and will support the report. There's two items I'd like to pull out, one that I'm very happy to see on this list. One is the Stroud House, Quamby House remediation. Great to see those restoration works completed with, if I recall correctly, a significant community donation, which was presented in a big cheque before one of our previous council meetings. And with the Stroud Bicentenary celebrations this year, it's great that we've been able to complete that remediation and get those state heritage listed facilities looking spick and span. The other one that I'd like to call out, which is a new project that's been added on here, is the Tuncurry D Crescent Storage Facility planning. It's just the planning for it, investigating and planning for a potential new storage facility in Tuncurry. So council, as has been previously reported, has an asset advisory reference group, of which I think Councillor Graham, Councillor Howard, the Mayor and myself are representatives on. And we've been looking at how to get the best value out of all of council's real estate portfolio. This is one that's been identified because anywhere that we can generate income using resources that we already have, like land that might have just been sitting there vacant for decades, if we can make that into an income generating, then that again puts downward pressure on rates and helps us to keep rates lower. So great to see the planning is commencing for that D Crescent storage facility, and I look forward to more updates.
Thank you. Further speakers? No, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Yes. Well, nobody's spoken against it, so no, you don't. Really?
No, you get that.
Do? Look, go ahead, but nobody has spoken against it, and normally a writer replies for people who have spoken against it.
Absolutely.
I can stand corrected. Go ahead.
So this is something which I possibly should have mentioned earlier, and that is that I would prefer that these reports, public spaces, waste services, natural systems, were unredacted to the public.
No? All right. I will put the motion. All in favour? Yeah, that was a right reply, which was, yeah, okay. All in favour? Thank you. That's everybody. It's carried. I'm sure there's a reason for it. 16.1. This is the proposed purchase of the NBN television 30-metre lattice tower. Director.
This report examines an opportunity council has to acquire surplus telecommunications infrastructure, including parcel of land that contains a 30-metre lattice tower, air-conditioned communications hut and an attached generator. The opportunity there is for council to add to our existing private communications network, increasing our resilience and the connectivity we've got. It also has several other potential opportunities in relation to our biodiversity offset site and the stewardship arrangements we have for that, as well as potentially revisiting the way that we communicate some of the flood warning device or instrumentation information in that area of the network back through to the BOM and other users out to the public.
Thank you. Mover, please. Councillor Tickle.
Thank you, Mayor. I move dot point 1, proceed with the purchase of 746 Dees Road, Kimbrakai, being Lot 4 in DP 101-3001, the purpose of strengthening Mid-Coast Council's critical communications network, the amount set out in the confidential attachment. Point 2, that the proposed purchase be completed prior to 15th of May 2026, with the property being classified as operational land upon purchase. Point 3, the General Manager be delegated authority to sign the contract and all other documentation related to the purchase. Point 4, that additional budget as detailed in the report be approved from the respective water and sewer reserve funds.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Miller. Councillor Tickle.
Very briefly, Mayor, look, I don't know which staff member was responsible for spotting this and the initiative, but it is a great pickup for council. The director has outlined the reasons behind this and the benefit to the community in this, but I think it's a great initiative, and congratulations, Director, to wherever this came from, this initiative, because it's a great thing for council and the community at large. Thank you.
Thank you. Further speakers? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I echo Councillor Tickle. Great opportunity came along. We grabbed it with both hands is the basis of this motion. So it's fantastic. I would like to ask a question of the General Manager or his delegate regarding something that Councillor Beasley said on the previous item, but it's relevant to this item too because parts of this item are redacted. So my question is generally, why would council redact information such as this one and the previous item?
Yeah.
And would it be sensible to have it unredacted?
No. Thanks for asking. And to be transparent, there are items that council needs to redact for commercial in confidence sake. Take this item for example. If council were to disclose the amount, we haven't signed the contract yet. Someone can jump in and offer more, perhaps, and then we'll lose an opportunity. Likewise, for the item prior to our project status report, there is confidential information there insofar as perhaps a budget for works. So if that was generally known by members of the community or prospective tenderers, well, they know what we're going to spend. So, I don't know. The cynic in me tells me that it's unlikely that we're going to get much less than what our budget is what we intend to spend. So there are very good commercial reasons why we don't disclose. Likewise, we wouldn't disclose the provision of legal advice. That's confidential as well. We do have a contract register. So if people are interested in the value of contracts that we've entered into, that's open and transparent. We maintain a contract register. Likewise, we have a property register. If people are interested in council's property portfolio, they could go to our property register. So there are mechanisms for community to look at if they have an interest in commercial dealings when there are contracts entered into our property portfolio, so you know what we own as a council. But the precise nature of the details of the contracts or the terms of the contracts, particularly before we enter into them, no, that's commercial in confidence.
Thank you. Further speakers on this? Councillor Beasley?
Question to the Director, pardon me, through the General Manager. It states that the proposed acquisition will be funded from the water and sewer reserves and it will be adding resilience. Is that specifically what the use of this particular tower is for council communications?
It is for council communications, which largely dovetails into our water supply and sewage SCADA networks. That's the principal vehicle with which we want to enforce, and the offshoot of that is that we can have other communication connections at the same time, which is typically our corporate network, so our data network that enables all of our phones, tablets and other devices to communicate backwards and forwards, make phone calls, all of that sort of stuff. So what it means is that any staff within range of that site, not only do they have better connection, also our sewer and water systems can connect well out to the Gloucester area and in fact down to the southern area. So similar to our northern and region zones, it actually allows for a loop to form. And if any one of the links were to go down, then our network will auto recover. So it gives us that backup resiliency.
Further question, is there possible commercial use from this?
There is a possible commercial use. It's not unusual for telecommunication providers when there is a need to come and ask other providers to co-locate on their towers, and we can sublease space. We have several arrangements in place where we sublease space from other providers. We have several arrangements already in place for other facilities where we sublease space to other providers. So there is that option down the track if that's something that there's a need out there.
Okay, thank you. In regard to redaction, Councillor Miller was slightly unfair by including this with the council reports. Yes, indeed, commercial confidentiality is something that council must engage in. In regard to work that's done by council itself, however, it would seem only reasonable that that particular information be available to the population at large when it is involving a business, maybe a tender process, then yes, I see the point of that. But when it is council doing the work, we should be obviously open and transparent about its cost.
Further speakers? No? Put the motion. All in favour? Sorry, I'm confused. Councillor Tickler, are you voting? You usually do, so sorry. That was carried. Thank you. 16.2 is the April 2026 flood recovery transport update. Thank you, Mr. Scott.
This report provides a monthly update on our response to AGRN 1212, otherwise known as the May 2025 major flood event. It's part of our flood recovery program and provides an opportunity for council and community to remain aware of all of the actions that we're undertaking in our work towards recovery of those costs from the New South Wales Reconstruction Authority.
Thank you. Just noting that Councillor O'Keefe has left the room, and I'll call for a mover for this report. Councillor Howard.
Yes, I move the recommendation that council receive the AGRN 1212, also known as the May 2025 flood event, flood recovery program update. 2, note the current financial position and outstanding claim assessments. And 3, support continued advocacy to the New South Wales RA to expedite funding approvals.
Thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Mackenzie. Do you wish to speak to it, Councillor Howard? Too slow.
No, thank you.
That's right. And you are sitting down. In joke. Councillor Mackenzie, did you wish to speak to it?
Just quickly to commend all of the good work that's been done, very necessary for the community. I do hope that we don't have another flood soon.
Indeed, indeed. Any further speakers on this report? Councillor Graham.
Just a question, I guess, for the General Manager. How confident are we that we'll get 100% of the funds that we have spent up to date and until we completed back?
You're never going to receive 100% because it's going to be a component of the works that's not claimable, but we'll get a large proportion of the dollars. We're establishing a good relationship with Reconstruction Authority. We just are. So a lot of the pre-work's been done. And the claims that have been made so far, they've been largely satisfied to close enough to 100%. So I'm pretty comfortable with that. But when we've got the quantum of work that we need to carry out and the procurement processes involved, you're not going to get 100%. It's impossible. But we'll get a large proportion of it, which means that the investment in the road network over the next couple of years, if I remember right, this report outlines $271 million. Estimated cost of rebuilding following the May 2025 flood event, which will be invested in the road network over the next 3 years or so. If I should just add, so the report does outline, which I would commend the report because it's our staff, but it does outline payments received totaling $26 odd million. If you recall back to February this year, was far less, way less than that, or $3 or $6 million back then. Yeah. So the group's been doing a great piece of work. We meet with RA at least fortnightly. I'm assured over the month of May, there's another $21 million coming our way by the end of May. That's the expectation, and we'll keep on following that up. And that brings the gap, because we did spend $46 million, and that was on emergency and immediate reconstruction works, and we need to narrow that gap as much as we can, and we've got procedures in place to do that. So thanks to the staff.
Thank you. Can I a follow-up question? Could you be so you mentioned a large proportion of it. I mean, that could be any from 60% to 99.9%.
If I was going to throw a number at it, I'd say 90%.
Yes, I would have thought so. Thank you.
But then if I'm advocating to the Reconstruction Authority, who I hope's not listening, it'll be 100%.
That's right. Further speakers on this one? Councillor Howard. Good.
I do have something to say.
Plenty of time.
Through the General Manager, through the Mayor, confirming, just asking if you can confirm that unfortunately, again, or just confirming, I guess, put on record yet again, that unfortunately, as it's regarded as infrastructure rather than damage, that Wingham Pool was not covered by this flood event.
So Wingham Pool's community infrastructure, which isn't covered by the event, we continue to advocate for Wingham Pool. It's something that we've been quite firm on. We also advocate for things like the revetment Wine. That's a significant piece of infrastructure. There's $11 odd million of work that needs to be carried out there that won't get done unless it's covered by other forms of government. We also advocate for water and sewer infrastructure. There's $7.8 million that at the moment is not covered, and the water and sewer fund's taking a hit.
I would just take this opportunity and I'd say on behalf of the council to again call on the state and the federal governments to step up in this instance. Wingham has a lack of a pool. Wingham needs its pool back. It's an important piece of infrastructure, as is the Bight Bridge, but that will be covered. But we need to get Wingham Pool going. So I call upon state and federal governments to pull their finger out and get moving on this, please.
Thank you. And there were other people. So Councillor Miller? Okay, sorry. Doesn't really matter.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to start with a question to the Director without notice. Is the Director in a position to give an update on the Bight Bridge and the timing of the Bight Bridge?
Not so much in confirming the timing, but I am aware that our investigations are progressing in the engineering side. We're running them all concurrently. So we're doing the detailed investigation into geotechnical, the bathymetric or below the water level survey, the hydraulics, as well as some of our initial concept design from an engineering perspective and detailed survey work that we're hoping to have completed to the point of a finished design by the end of this calendar year so that we can start tendering and preparing for construction sometime next year.
I know, Director, we had through the General Manager, there was published at a previous meeting a quite detailed timeline for the Bight Bridge. Perhaps at the next meeting or at some point it'd be good to get an update because I believe we're well ahead of that published schedule.
We will be well ahead of that, and part of that's been a determination that we didn't need to test the integrity of the existing structure and prove that it wasn't that it wasn't suitable to be reused. That's collapsed that timeframe considerably, as has our team in terms of procuring and progressing with the investigation works all concurrently. Normally, you would do them in a sequence because one informs the other. However, what we're having to do, and it's a little bit more resource intensive, is come back after we've gotten so far and make sure that they're all communicating with each other so that as information is identified, that's emulated in the other studies that need to rely upon that information.
No, that's great that you're taking steps to compress that timeline, and looks like you're having great success with that. So I think the community will be really happy to hear that. That's great. The other thing that I do keep harping on about is what we spent and what we've got back, and it's been mentioned. We've spent $46 million. We've got $26 million back. So ratepayers are still out of pocket $20 million to the state government. And more than $85 million worth of claims have been submitted to the Reconstruction Authority. It is very encouraging to see through the work that the Mayor and staff have been doing with the Reconstruction Authority that I think the tempo has increased and we are getting money back at an increased rate. That's great. But, we are still out of pocket a good $20 million, and that's not great. So we'd like to see that improved. And on the reimbursement, it does say in the report that so far 99% of what we've spent has been approved for reimbursement. So I think that's excellent, and long may that continue. I think we're getting into a different stage of the work now, and so it might be slightly different, but let's hope that it stays at that sort of 99+% of reimbursement. The last thing I'd like to say is it's great that we get these transport updates regularly. I think it's really important that we get them regularly, but what it can do is make them routine. And this work and this report is absolutely not routine. What the Transport Department has managed to do has been extraordinary. Getting temporary bridges to Tie Ryan, compressing the timeline for Bight Bridge and all the other work that they've done that's in this report. It's an extraordinary amount of work to get the community back connected and to get it repaired and back up on our feet. There is a long way to go, but each time this report comes, it does start to become routine as we see it more and more often, but we do need to remind ourselves, I know everyone around this table knows, this is pretty extraordinary work to get our community back, and congratulations to the Transport Department on the work that you're doing.
General Manager?
I did forget to mention, it's more of a shout out to the team again. So we had until the end of March to put in all of our claims for emergency works and immediate reconstruction works. We claimed over 99% of what was claimable of the $46 odd million. That's a hell of a lot of work, to be honest, because there's a choice to be made to whether it's claimable or not, and staff have to actively go and do that. So to get close to 100% of what we could claim claimed, it's a shout out to the team. It's pretty extraordinary.
Did a great job. Thank you. Are there any further speakers? Yes, Councillor Tickle.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Look, echoing I won't repeat what Councillor Miller has adequately covered. I'll look where the gaps are, but I want to echo the words of the General Manager. If we look at from the flood emergency all the way through, the way our sewer network stood up, and how the work of the staff was extraordinary. There's a heading here, emergency works, $33.4 million. There was a decision made by council a few years ago that we had to increase our reserves. There's certainly key performance indicators on financial reporting, what we ought to have, and we're a bit light in the reserves. And the decision was made, we need to address that. Had that decision not been made, we may not have been in the position to look after our community the way we did, to the tune of $33.4 million in emergency works. The state government didn't put their hand up at that stage. They may have committed, yes, we'll help you. But had those reserves not been there, imagine the peril this community would have been in. So plaudits for that. I will also say, Councillor Miller did point out we're waiting on $20 million. To date, I'd estimate our loss of operational earnings from the $46 million we had to expend is in the order of probably $1.3 million. That also is not insignificant. So not only is it the cost of pulling the reserves out, and we're down 20, that is also a cost to the community as well. But I would extend the plaudits of the General Manager and add that of the elected body. It's been a magnificent amount of work coming from this area. The community too ought to be extremely grateful. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any further? Councillor Beasley.
I quite agree, Councillor Tickle. Reserves are important, and it's wonderful that we had them to be able to use them immediately. Could I ask a question to the Director through the General Manager? It's in regard to the table emergency works claims status on page 96 of the agenda papers. And could you just explain that to me, please? Under assessment status, there are 3 columns: triage, advance payment, and then final assessment. So triage payment, I understand, is 50% of the claim. And then there's claimed to be an advanced payment, which I would have thought would have made more than 50%. And then there are pendings. So that would be, if the percentage paid to date was 50%, I would think that the advance payment would be pending, as it is in 8 of those rows. Could you just explain the advanced payment in regard to the others?
So through the General Manager, the advance payment refers to once our application has been accepted, it's passed through a triage in the Reconstruction Authority, it then ultimately gets approved for an advance payment of 50%. What that is recognising that straight away the Reconstruction Authority has recognised that their work has been done, that the emergency nature of it, they're going to end up paying some part of that claim, maybe not all of it, maybe all of it. We don't know until they go through the full assessment of it. But what it's recognising is that at the very least, they're giving up to 50%. Now, they don't have to do that. But however, they have been doing that. So in effect, that's providing a status of where those applications are up to. And if we've been provided with the 50% sooner before it's actually had been approved for that advance payment, it's reflecting the fact that the application is highly likely to be strongly supported through that process. So what we really will see is when the assessments start to roll through, that's probably the critical column, because that'll reflect back to how much of the work has been deemed it has actually been recovered and how much of it then is left for council to fund. And you will note already, just from the work that we've expended to date, there's just less than 1% of the work we haven't submitted in claims at the moment. So that automatically will have to be funded from our maintenance allocation somehow.
Okay, so the column advance payment indicates that the triage payment has been made, therefore.
It does. The timing of the payments can happen, as I said before that, depending on how they all get into it. You would expect that if you did that now, you would have little ticks in those columns because we have received the payments for those.
Okay, so the pending after the triage indicates It's been agreed to and we just haven't got the money yet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We haven't got the full amount of the money.
It's just where it is at the moment, depending on how the timing of the preparation of this report is back to payments. As the General Manager's indicated, there's been a lot of movement on those payments. There was a lot of submissions that we've made associated with all of this work. The ones that are really easy to approve, you'll probably find that they've just simply gone straight to payment at the same time as the application's been triaged and then even approved for pending payment, because they know that there's a strong likelihood that those applications are going to be almost paid in full, hopefully.
Anything else on this? Can I put the motion? I'm going to put the motion. All in favour? That is everybody. Thank you. It's carried. So moving to 16.3, monthly capital works project status report, infrastructure engineering services. Just noting that Councillor Miller is leaving the room. Sorry, getting tongue-tied. Councillor Scott. I think I need a coffee. Director.
Through you, Mayor, this report provides the status of all of our major infrastructure and engineering projects. It highlights the potential issues associated with schedule, cost and delivery. It also flags those projects that are finishing or those projects that are just about to start in terms of our overall and in the attached overall program, and which is shown in the attachments for more details. On top of that, in our water area, it also flags those projects that have gone through particular gateways as part of our project management framework, and you'll see project health status checks. That's part of our routine operation for those projects.
Thank you very much. And a mover, please. Councillor Graham.
Okay, I move that the monthly project status report be received and gateway reports endorsed.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Turnbull. Do you wish to speak to it?
Yeah, why not? Look, this has to be my most favourite report, I guess. Being roads is the major thing it's to do with. Look, it's good to see the projects either completed or getting close to completion, and that's good for the ratepayers. They're seeing some value for their dollars. That's a good thing.
Thank you. Councillor Turnbull? No? Councillor Wilson?
Just a question to help Councillor Graham's bedtime reading. To the Director, through the General Manager, to the Director of Infrastructure and Engineering, Isabel Street. Wingham are all hanging out for Isabel Street to be updated. What's the progress on Isabel Street roundabout?
Through the General Manager, I certainly don't blame them for hanging out for that. It was a particularly poor section of work located at the bottom of and adjacent to other work that we'd previously finished, and we got a lot of criticism about not doing it at the time. We were expecting some significantly soft ground conditions there through the work that we've done, but we have uncovered or identified things we weren't suspecting, and that is the presence of petrochemical waste in that area. So we've done some test pits, we've taken some samples. There'll be more work. We don't know exactly the extent to which that's going to impact our schedule, both on cost and time, but there could be very much a delay associated with treating or otherwise disposing of the material properly, or and obviously a respective cost associated with that we weren't budgeting for. So whilst we have accounted that, we are progressing as much of the project as we can outside of the area that's impacted, so that we can continue to get progress along there. But as soon as we know more information, we'll be back out to council and the community around the impact on that project.
Okay, thank you. So August, I think, is the target finish time. What will the public see on the road? I mean, what will the residents see in Wingham?
At this stage, I have to say we're very unlikely to be able to finish by August, but I still don't know exactly what that is. What it is proposed is virtually a rehabilitation of the existing road and reconstruction of the roundabout there that allow us to I guess re-establish the condition of that intersection back to what should be in relation to it. So there are some service relocations that we're doing as well. One of the really difficult and I guess worrying elements of the impact we've got from the petrochemical stuff is if we have to remove material and expose some of those services, we may be up for more service relocation costs associated with that. And at this stage, it's all speculation. I can't give you any more detail until I know a bit more myself.
You need to know what's under the ground. Thank you, Director.
Further speakers? No. I'll put the motion noting that Councillor Miller is out of the room. All in favour? That is everybody present. Carried. 16.4 is Water and Systems Monthly Performance Report. Director?
This report provides council and the community with key information on the performance of our water and wastewater services for the month of March 2026.
Thank you. Mover, please. Councillor Turnbull.
I move that the Water and Systems Monthly Performance Report for March 2026 be received and the performance against the guidelines and licence conditions be noted.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Howard. Do you wish to speak to it, Councillor Turnbull?
Just shortly, just to note a couple of figures in the report for people who might not have read it. So we've got storage levels at 91.9% for Manning Scheme and 97.2% for Gloucester. Just noting that rain isn't going to be coming like it has before. So we're just going to keep an eye on that one. But also wanted to commend the team again on the water quality compliance rate for 99.9% year to date. Well done, guys.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Comments, questions? No? Put the motion. Well, that's everybody. Thank you. Carried. You both voted for? Yes. That's how I counted it. Yes. Did I note it? I think I did. I can't remember now. I noted you weren't here. 16.5, minutes of the local traffic forum held on the 19th of February 2026. Director?
This report presents the minutes of the local transport forum that was held on the 19th of February for adoption in relation to the items where we have a role to change the regulatory traffic controls around that. Council's authority doesn't extend to doing that on our own. We have a process which is the local traffic forum, and therefore they give advice to council.
Thank you. And I'll note now that Councillor Wilson's left the room. Mover, please. Councillor Miller.
Thank you. Just slightly tidying up the word in the recommendation. So I move that the minutes of the Local Transport Forum meeting held 19th February 2026 be noted and the recommendations adopted.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Howard. Councillor Miller.
I'd just like to thank the director and also the report author. I had previously asked that more information be elevated out of the attachment and into this, and it has. I think it makes it a much clearer report, so I'd like to thank them for that.
Thank you. Anything else? Put the motion. All in favour? And those against? 2 councillors voted against. The rest for the motion is carried. Going to 17.1, corporate services. 17.1 is the public exhibition of the draft delivery program 25-29, revised 26-27, and draft operational plan 26-27. Director.
This report presents Council's integrated planning and reporting documents essentially for consideration for public exhibition. They're the most important documents that Council considers at this time of the year because they set the platform for what we will do in the next financial year. The purpose of this report is to place those documents on public exhibition to receive community feedback so that can be refined and then reconsidered before the end of this financial year.
Thank you. Mover, please. Councillor Turnbull.
I move that Council place the draft delivery program 2025-2029 revised 2026-2027, see attachment 1, and the draft operational plan 2026-27, including the statement of revenue policy, see attachment 2, and draft fees and charges 2026-2027, see attachment 3, on public exhibition for a period of 25 working days in accordance with Council's community engagement strategy, to allow the public to consider its contents and make submissions.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Miller. Do you wish to speak to it, Councillor Turnbull?
Only to encourage people to have a look at these documents. These are what we're planning to do and how we're planning to do it over the next couple of years. So highly recommend have a look, tell us your feedback, let us know what you think, and so we can review that and put it on display.
Thank you very much. Councillor Wilson has returned to the room. Any further? Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. I echo the words of Councillor Turnbull. This is always a fantastic document. And when I stood for council, I didn't understand how council decisions were made. I think a lot of people outside of this room might not understand, how does council decide to do something or not do something? This is how we decide to do it or not do it. So basically, if it's in the delivery plan and operational plan, it gets done. And if it doesn't get done, it gets reported why it wasn't done. And if it's not in the delivery program, the operational plan, it probably doesn't get done, unless there's something extraordinary like a flood. So if you want to know what council's doing over the next 12 months, the draft operational plan is the place to look, because it goes through every section of council and the extraordinary breadth of activities that council undertakes. And if you want to look at what the longer term plan is, because sometimes you hear, our council doesn't do any long-term planning and do long-term planning. There's a very detailed 4-year plan, and that ties into the community plan, which is a less detailed because it's a 10-year plan, but the aspirations and the directions are there. So I would say definitely have a look at the operational plan. If you look at nothing else, look at what council's planning to do next year and get your submissions in and let us know what you think. The other thing, of course, is the fees and charges. Now, that affects everybody at a granular level, whether it might be the fees and charges for on-site sewer or for going into a swimming pool or for getting the photocopying done at the library. Whatever those fees and charges are, they're listed there. You can have a look and you can make a comment. And then, of course, the 4-year plan as well. So it's a really powerful suite of documents. If you don't want to read the whole thing, at least look at the operational plan, which is the 12-month version. But my theme today is about putting things on public exhibition. And what we're voting for is to put these documents on public exhibition to ask the public what they think of them. And as we've seen a couple of times today, and I've called it out, every time we do that, the submissions come back and the plans get better. So this is about putting it out on public exhibition, listening to what the public has to say so we can make it even better.
Thank you. Any speakers? Councillor Hickle.
A question, if I may. I'm sorry, I haven't given the director notice on this. So through the general manager to the director corporate, we note that the report projects a net budget result of a $48 million deficit, the general fund surplus, water fund deficit, sewer fund deficit. Now, in relation to the consolidated position, could you explain that that's not actually the cash position of council, but it's after allowing for depreciation and the like, because this number at times does give the community some alarm.
Through the General Manager, there's a lot of commentary throughout the body of the report that explains your question, Councillor Tickle. I think the most important part to understand in relation to that is that there is a $1.7 million surplus, or operating surplus, for the general fund. We don't recommend that be allocated towards any projects, specifically at this point in time, and that's largely because we do have obviously ongoing geopolitical conflict around the world. Prices are changing, so we do need a buffer within our budget. You are correct in relation to the need to deal with depreciation, and what you're referring to actually identifies a structural issue with our budget where we're largely in need of grant funding to balance it out at the end of each annual year. Water and sewer, a similar scenario whereby you've got enough funds being generated to deal with all the operating expenses day to day. Also includes funding depreciation. But there's also a net deficit result in water and sewer. And it's largely because there are large capital works programs in the order of $70 million that we need to use accumulated cash investments that are held within various funds to actually allow that program to be delivered. So what it basically means is, in simple terms, we're able to deal with our day-to-day operating expenses. There's no real issues with that. But it's our large capital programs that need funding either from grants or from our accumulated reserves.
Thank you. Anything on this? Councillor Beasley?
As Councillor Miller had mentioned, where council does an awful lot of things, the draft Community Wellbeing and Inclusion Action Plan includes things that one wouldn't normally consider to be council business, but It states that we should strengthen resilience and safety, improves mental and physical health, embeds inclusion by design, elevates Aboriginal cultural inclusion and diverse identities, expands access to services, places, housing and transport, builds community capacity and pathways to employment, involves children, young people, older people, carers, people with disability, Aboriginal and culturally and linguistically diverse communities in decisions affecting them. I could go on. Actually, I don't need to go on because I think that's all, thankfully. That's an awful lot of things that are very, very difficult for a council who is primarily involved in, when one looks at the budget, we're involved in transport, the network, improving it, maintaining it, renewing it where we possibly can. So the remit that the council is trying to actually complete is huge. I do think that I would like to ask a couple of questions now, because this has come through corporate services, I guess my first question should be therefore to General Manager, to Mr. Dizelle. We have a Atari Regional Airport Strategic Plan 2035, and I notice there's no budget for it at the moment in this DP. Would the Director wish to comment about that need, possibly?
Well, what I will say with respect to the strategic plan for the airport is that the council hasn't adopted the strategic plan as yet. That would be workshop with councillors before the end of the financial year, and a report will be placed to a council meeting for adoption. Following that, actions will be taken out. Council will carry out actions with respect to the airport.
If that happens prior to the end of this financial year, we can certainly update the documents to include a budget, but in the absence of an adopted plan. That's why there's a vacancy.
Indeed. And further question to the Director, it's almost a comment really. I've noticed that we do have a change this year that corporate overhead allocation is included. So that to me now gives us a better, more accurate net cost of each service. Would the Director choose to comment about that inclusion?
Yeah, through the General Manager, one of the things the elected body has been seeking for some period of time now is to get a better understanding of the full cost of its services, the services that we provide as an organisation. It's true that the corporate overhead model that's been applied does give you a better understanding of the net cost of each service that we provide. With a rider, it's not 100% accurate on the basis that we provide our services based on management area, not necessarily on the pure service. So there are some services, for example, that don't include building costs, maintenance costs as part of that corporate overhead. So it's as close as we can get at the moment, and we will continue to look and refine our key integrated planning and reporting documents to try and get a better net cost of service and a more accurate net cost of service over time. And that will require some restructuring and a move away from service delivery by management area just to a pure service basis.
Right, so it's early days for that.
Sorry, just noting that Councillor Howard's left the room. Please go.
It is early days, and we'll continue to work on that.
One of the stated aims of this is to advocate for the delivery of social and affordable housing options across the mid-coast. There was a motion in 2024 which was moved and passed by Council. We received in a workshop sometime later, maybe possibly 8 months later, the fact that Council could, with the 7 options that they looked at, were unable to actually physically do anything. Wonder whether I should actually ask, therefore, a question of the Director in regard to that. Because of the outcome of that motion and the study that was done, is there any possibility that Council could advocate for the delivery of social and affordable housing options?
Through the General Manager, the one thing we can do is advocate. Part of the workshop material that we're referring to largely dealt with Council's ability to use its own land and to use it as a driver, to change some of the planning instruments, to use those as a driver. One of the things that we can do as an organisation, and certainly I'm sure the Mayor and the General Manager would consistently do it, is to advocate to the state and the federal government to provide more funding to social housing providers to make housing more affordable. We do have a large quantum of social housing within Mid Coast Council local government area. There are large land areas that are essentially run by the state in relation to providing that housing, and there is no reason why additional development could not occur within those areas to provide additional housing. So advocacy is always a possibility.
Okay, that's excellent. Thank you. There is a project. This is a carryover project, and of course, this is not a word that we always like to hear about. There are certain carryovers that have to take place because of the length of the project itself. It is in regard to water main construction, which is expensive. I don't have a figure. I think it's $4 million from Charlotte Bay up to the tank at the top of Smith Lake. My understanding was that that work was to take place at least before Christmas last year. So perhaps my question, therefore, possibly to the Director or maybe including Mr. Scott, whether there be any comment about that carryover?
There was an intention. The work's been consistently reported through the monthly capital works report, and what you're seeing in the draft DPOP is it reflects the change or the movement of the cash flow timing for that project. So we've had to allocate funding in next year's capital works program to account for the fact that the works won't be completed prior to the end of this financial year.
So further question in regard to that.
Can I just add to that? We did report a couple of months ago about some of the delays of our water and sewer projects on the back of the unforeseen flood of last year, having to deliver a $6.6 million water main to Wingham. That diverted quite a bit of resource to do that. So some of our water and sewer projects have been delayed because of that fact.
Sure. And I'm sure that would also involve staff and materials and the like. I note that there is an increase in staff in building services, and I'm wondering whether the Director or General Manager could make a comment about those costs and why there would be what appears to be a fairly large increase in the staff. Are you aware of that, Director?
No, there hasn't been a large increase in staff. We've got an establishment. If anything, it's filling staff in accordance with the establishment. There hasn't been. Yeah, vacancies could be reduced if anything, but the staffing establishment hasn't been increased.
I don't have the figures in front of me, but I seem to think it's gone from 13 or so full-time employees to 25 and point something next year. So hence I asked the question, it seemed.
No. There's certainly not a significant increase in staffing within the building team. It's important to note the building team doesn't just do construction certificate work, it does do development assessment work. A significant amount of work is development assessment work. So there's certainly no significant increase in staffing in that area. I'm sure that if they're listing online, they'd be pleased to hear that you're suggesting that's the case, but it's actually not the case at all.
Okay, this question really is more for the public than for councillors. So I'm wondering whether the Director could explain the huge increase in grants and contributions over the next 2 years into our transport network and how this money will be spent.
Through the General Manager, that's really quite easy to explain. It's been talked about a lot already today. That's largely $90 million in potential money coming for flood recovery. It's purely in relation to that and creating a budget to do the flood recovery works over the next 2 years.
Indeed, thank you.
Importantly on that, so a lot of those dollars are going to be probably considered as maintenance. So financial statements may not look the best as a result of it. But what will be better than what it is at the moment is a transport network. So the dollars are getting invested into the network, but in a financial statement sense, it may not reflect as good as it ought to.
It won't, because it'll significantly increase the amount of grant funding that we're reliant upon to deliver works.
Indeed, thank you. I noticed that the legal and property section has got a capital expenditure going from $0 to $580,000 in the next year. Could the Director just make a comment about that?
Yeah, through the General Manager, it's something that Councillor Miller mentioned a bit earlier today. He mentioned that in one of the project reports that D Crescent had been now listed on the list. That's essentially in relation to developing that site on behalf of Council as a revenue generating exercise. So there needs to be a budget associated with that development.
Thank you. And one thing that I did notice, I don't remember it being discussed in any of the workshops, but and correct me if I'm wrong, it does appear that the domestic waste charge looks to have gone up $118 or a 27% increase. Is this right? This would be the domestic waste charge, which most people, I would think, would be paying.
Through the General Manager, I believe that to be correct.
Thank you. And, well, further question, is this because of the increased cost of the contract that we have with a waste service provider?
Through the General Manager, no, it's got nothing to do with the increased contract. The contract has been set and was set some time ago. It's a 10-year contract, so it's nothing to do with that. We do have a large FOGO facility that's coming on board, and I would suggest it's more in relation to managing the overall waste reserve to deal with capital expenditure over the next 10 to 20 years.
Thank you. Just one small comment I have, and that is that for anyone taking notice, of course, on page 35 of the delivery program and operational plan, it states that Council has identified the need for a special rate variation prior to the 1st of July 2030. This is something that was discussed in workshops with staff. It's, what I say, it's not a fait accompli, but that's how Council views the future financial sustainability of the Mid-Coast LGA.
Thank you. Further speakers? Councillor Tickle.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just going to respond to the last point made by Councillor Beasley in relation to a rate variation. It's in the plan purely because we are at the community to alert them that we will at some point have a conversation. It is not stating there's commitment of this council to have an SRV increase. It's more or less only saying that we will have a conversation with them at some point and hear what the community have to say. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Graham.
Okay. Yeah, look, we do have to provide a delivery program and operational plan under the Integrated Planning Reporting Network. That's just a given. That's our job, to ensure there's adequate funds for the work we have to do. What we can and can change is the IPART rate increase, which is 3.1%, which is the maximum, which is what this is referring to, and that's what we want to do. I don't believe that the ratepayers really have the capacity to have another rate rise at this stage. I think I would rather see a bit more work done in terms of cutting any non-discretionary funds or spending that we have, any services, before we consider raising rates to any level, basically. So I'll be very interested to see the feedback and the submissions that the public provide, due to the current climate.
Thank you. Before we move on, so the General Manager's got some more information in relation to that waste charge that was mentioned.
I was just reflecting on Council's increase to fees and charges. There was a comment about waste charges. I'll just run through it. So general rates are proposed to go up by 3.1%. That's in accordance with the rate peg. Waste charges are 3.1%, sort of consistent with the rate peg. Water charges 5%, sewer charges 5.5%. That's in accordance with our pricing path outlined. We've done the work with Our Water, Our Future, our 30-year plan, and there's a 25 annual stormwater charge per residential property. They're the charges.
So just to clarify, none of those waste charges went up by 27%?
Not that I could see, no. 3.1% waste charges increase.
Yeah.
So I could look into that further, but that's the information.
Certainly wasn't brought to our attention that there'd be a 27% rise when we were discussing it. So, yeah.
But through the General Manager, the charge of $120 is correct. But what I did say incorrectly is the $580,000 that Councillor Beasley mentioned isn't for Deep Crescent. It's actually for capital works at the airport to do a taxiway extension, which has been talked about a fair bit. So, that's what that money is actually for. That's all right.
I was hoping, Director, that you would mention that when I was asking about the Taree Airport strategy, but thank you.
Yeah, but that's why the property reserve has increased.
All right.
Question, if I may, Mayor?
Yes, please, Councillor Tickle.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. there's been a couple of comments from two councillors in relation to the DPAP with reference to SRV. So I wonder if the General Manager could make a comment or bring it in context what it actually means by having that line item. I did give my opinion, but it'd be best to have the opinion of the General Manager.
The purpose of having it in the DPLP is to flag an attention by the June 2030 the council intends, or it's likely that the council will lodge a special rate variation. Now, that's not this term of council, but council does have a long-term financial sustainability issue. We're not hiding from that. We've got a financial sustainability action plan that outlines that. The road strategy tells us the shortfall, but it's important to flag it as soon as possible as we can identify that there's an issue, and that's what we're doing. My opinion is if we've got 3 years of significant flood recovery work that's going to be carried out on our road network, that's an investment of $271 million. It's not going to solve the problem by any means, but it does mean that what we may ask of the community as a special rate variation may well differ. So the timing isn't quite right at the moment because we've still got work to do. Can't remember at any stage where a council's invested such a large amount of money into a road network over a short period of time. So it will have an impact upon the road network. It should have an impact what we'll be asking the community. What does a satisfactory road network look like and what community are prepared to pay? What does a good road network look like and what the community are prepared to pay? So that work will still need to be done, but it's every intention, well, to be open and transparent, you need to do that as early as possible. And it is flagged in our, despite our DPAP being as transparent as we are, we could have easily just lent upon our financial sustainability action plan because it's identified in there anyway, but it's hidden. So we want to be open and transparent about it.
Okay. Councillor Miller.
Question if I made to the General Manager or his delegate. Councillor Graham mentioned that he doesn't think we should take the rate peg. Could the GM or delegate talk about how IPART comes up with the rate peg?
Oh, yes.
And what would be the total if we didn't take that, if we took zero, what's the total impact on the budget as a single figure?
Roughly, the budget impact will be probably $3.5 million as an impact because that's where it will be. I won't go into how it's calculated, but it's 3.1%. But as far as impact, they won't even cover a staff award increase. So we're generally trying to do the same amount of work with less resource year on year. Every year the council doesn't take the rate peg, it's harder. You fall behind. There was only one council in the state last year that didn't take the rate peg. That was Port Macquarie. And I understand shortly after the council made that decision, they swiftly got a letter from the Office of Local Government. What would that mean? If the council decided not to take the rate peg, I'll provide a report to council to outline what we can't be doing, I suppose, in the following financial year to cover that loss. Roads are one of our top 3 priorities, and I'm told, and we all hear from the community, if we've got money saved or we're trying to find something that we put into roads. So this financial year we found 6.7. I think next financial year we'll identify another 4. So, other things will have to give, I suppose, but it's a significant amount. And each year you don't take the rate peg, you put yourself in a bigger hole.
Thank you. Councillor Graham.
A question for the Director of Corporate Services. If we were to cut all non-discretionary services, how much money would we have to put in the kitty?
Through the General Manager, it depends on how you define a non-discretionary service, because at the moment you have non-discretionary and discretionary services outlined in the DPAP. As has been discussed, the strategic workshop with councillors, while some are identified as essentially discretionary services, they're not actually discretionary because you can't remove those services. You still have to provide them either by outsourcing or otherwise. The biggest area in that space is in relation to open space, and the biggest saving would be in that area. But in terms of other discretionary services, they're certainly not going to cover the gap. And as I mentioned before, in relation to Councillor Tickle's question, we have a structural issue with our budget, and that's in the order of $35 to $37 million per annum where we rely on grant funding. We could cut all our discretionary services and we would still not cover that gap. Quite simply, we just couldn't cover that gap. So what it actually means is we do need to take a rate peg and we do need to look at special rate variation down the track to try and bridge that gap in our budget. It's been there for a very long period of time. Roughly every year it's around the same amount. So what that means is we're managing our budget really well. I heard Councillor Miller mention in a community conversation the other day, it's a bit like managing your household budget week to week. You can still do all your various bits and pieces, but if you need to do a major repair in your house, you just haven't got the money to do it. And that's essentially the way we work as an organisation. So we could cut all discretionary services, but it still wouldn't bridge the gap that we've got in relation to our infrastructure.
Yeah, that wasn't my question. My question is how much money will we have if we cut those services?
Through the general, I don't have the total off the top of my head. I have to go and calculate that.
Oh, switching it off. Anything else? I'm going to put the motion, noting that we're all back in the room at the moment. All in favour? Thank you. And those against? So we've got 2 councillors voting against and the remainder voted for, so the motion's carried. Thank you, councillor. We will make a final decision after it's been out for public consultation. So moving to 17.2. This is the March 2026 quarterly budget review. Over to you, Director.
This report presents the quarterly budget review statement for the period to March 31 for Council's consideration, and it's a requirement of Clause 203 of the Local Government General Regulation 2021.
Thank you. Move it, please. Councillor Miller.
I move the quarterly budget review statement for the period 31 March 2026 be noted and budget variations proposed, including transfers to and from reserves, be approved.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Wilson. Councillor Miller.
Just noting it's in the report, the original adopted budget, the general fund had a $1.9 million surplus, and today's projection is a $20 million surplus. Now, there's still a way to go for the year, so don't bank that yet. But that shows that council has been managing the funds very carefully and finding savings where they can. And if we're heading, we originally said a $2 million surplus, it looks more like 20. That's a good result.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Wilson? No. Councillor O'Keefe?
Question to the Director of Corporate Services. I see positive numbers with deficit written next to them, negative numbers with surplus written next to them. I brought this up before. I'm going to bring it up again. How is council going on finding a way for lay people to read these things?
Through the General Manager, I'm working on it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Councillor Beasley?
Question to the Director through the General Manager. This is something I think that Mr. Scott has spoken about in the past. In a capital budget review statement under the Consolidated Fund, that's page 388, total capital funding for the current year is over $213 million. Yep, and okay, I'll continue. And then the actual year-to-date amount, meaning 9 months of the year, is $110 million, which seems to leave a number that's north of $126 million. Could the Director please explain how we're going to spend $126 million in 3 months, or is that the wrong way to read that particular piece of data?
Through the General Manager, I don't actually spend that amount of money in the next 3 months. That's the delivery arms of the organisation, and that would be part of the reports you've just signed off, which deal with projects in relation to all of our delivery areas of the organisation. So the answer you will find is in that body of work.
So further to that, could I ask for a comment through the General Manager from Mr. Scott, as that's probably where that money is going to be spent?
I was just trying to find page 388 in the attachment. So I wasn't quite clear on exactly where you're referring to those figures that you read out.
Have you found them, Director?
No, I haven't found them. Have you got a page number there? Because it's not lining up.
388.
Is that of the corporate services attachments?
Oh, yes, indeed.
And that refers to income and expense budget review statement for Council Sewer Fund, ended 31 March 2026. Is that?
It's in regard to the Consolidated Fund.
I believe Councillor Bees is on 389.
Or 385.
It's, well, On my piece of paper, it says 388. Does that sound right, Director? Consolidated fund.
So you're looking at a paper copy, people are looking at a screen copy, and the numbers are often different. Is that?
It's well, possibly. However, it's a print from the page, so I'd be surprised if it was a different number. So there would be the sewer fund, there'd be water fund, and
So through the General Manager, I'm just looking at page 288 now. If you actually look at it, all the budgets, the ins and the outs are essentially the same. So we move money in and out based on the capital works program. So the original budget, 213, the original expenditure, 213. Then you've got essentially the actual to date, it's 110 in both ins and outs. So what we're doing is essentially moving money from reserves and our accumulated funds in and out of the budget to deal with the works program we've got at foot. Simple as that.
okay. That's a terrific statement. So as you say, it's ins and outs. It's not just a spend of $213 million that's being referred to by those figures.
No, it's not. Not at all.
Okay, thank you.
But again, it gets back to essentially the capital works reporting programs and how our projects are tracking. And we will move money in and out to cover those projects.
It's big business.
Oh, okay. Any speakers against? Because I might move to put the motion. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. And those against? One councillor voted against, the rest for. The motion's carried. That gets us to 17.3, Cash Investments Report for March 2026. Director?
This report presents the details of the funds invested by Mid Coast Council under Section 625 of the Local Government Act 1993.
Thank you. Move, please. Councillor Wilson.
I move that the information provided in the report be noted.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Tickle. Councillor Wilson.
No, thank you.
Councillor Tickle.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Anyone wish to speak on this? Councillor Miller.
Besides the good thing about floating rate term deposits, I did want to just thank the Director because there was a clarification on maturity horizons, which I had a question asked at the last meeting about the maturity horizons. That's been clarified now in the new format of the report, so thank you for that.
Thank you. Shall I put the motion? All in favour? That's everybody. It's carried. 17.4 is the Business Transformation Program Quarterly Update. Director?
The purpose of this report is to provide Council with a progress update on the implementation of our Business Transformation Program.
Thank you. Move, please. Councillor Tickle.
Thank you, Mayor. Move that the Business Transformation Program Progress Report be noted.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Turnbull. Do you wish to speak to it, Councillor Tickle?
Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Turnbull? Anyone? Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. I realise we've had a change of director since the December meeting, but I just want to draw the Director's attention through the General Manager to the motion that was passed at the December meeting. So I added onto it that future updates include the benefits achieved to date, including cashable savings. I note the report does talk about, we're sort of working on getting the cashable savings, but it is really important. When can we start to see cashable savings in this report?
Through the General Manager, what I can say is that all the cashable savings presented originally when this decision was made to move down this path have been essentially obtained. So that's easy to put the number in there, quite easy to put the number in there. I think for mine, the bigger challenge is to actually get the system in and to report on how we're tracking there. And that's essentially this month. Next month, sorry, we're in April. May is essentially deadline month. We need to get the system in then, and it's mentioned in the report, and that's where we'll be tracking. Like I said, I've spoken to our finance manager, and the cashable savings that have been required for each essential year have been essentially budgeted, and they're in the budget at the moment. So you can have confidence in that, and it's an easy fix to actually put that in the next report.
That would be great. Thank you, Director. Unfortunately, I can't support this motion until that's in there, because we did say that future updates would have it. The business transformation program is a $20 million program. It's a huge, big investment, and I was happy to support it, and I remain happy to support it. But we need to check the $20 million has that return, because it's supposed to return 20 million plus. So in the original, when we originally adopted the business transformation program, understandably there's a lag. You spend the money, and then the service takes off, and then it takes a while for the cashable savings to come in. That's completely understood, and that's appropriate. But there was a table, if I recall, I'll have to go back and look it up, when we adopted the business transformation program, that said, in year 1, year 2, year 3, this is what we'd spend, and then year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, this is what we'd get back. And we're starting in this year to be in the should be getting back. So I'd very much like to see in future copies of this report, and possibly even in an out of time update at the next meeting or some other time, referring back to that original BTP adoption and the table that we said the projections would be, and then a tracking of how we're going. We need to make sure we track how this project goes along.
It's really, General Manager, more than happy to provide that table. There's no issue at all.
Thank you. Anything else on this? Councillor Beasley?
Just picking up on that, I noticed that full-time employees for customer relations for next year has dropped markedly. And I wonder if I could ask a question of the Director through the General Manager, whether that, I think, again, it might be almost half, but I can't be certain. A drop in employees would be because of the business transformation?
Through the General Manager, no, that's not the case. It's because of a change in structure, whereby a large percentage of that team have been reallocated, and potentially that's why they've been budgeted in the building area. So following some organisational change that occurred essentially at the end of last calendar year, certain teams moved into certain different directions. So part of customer service moved over to development assessment and building certification, and potentially those positions have been budgeted in the building team, and the remainder of the team was moved to corporate services. So whilst you see a big reduction in those numbers, that's not due to BTP per se. Having said that, there has been a reduction in numbers in customer service over a number of years, where positions have been reduced as a result of the BTP project. One of the biggest issues we have, however, with BTP is trying to move essentially a resistant community from picking up the phone and calling us to more online use. We've put out numerous communications. We've had numerous campaigns. There's an ad on TV which talks about using our report and request system and people going online, but largely we still have 50% of all of our report and request inquiries coming through via the phone. So whilst ever that's the case, huge reductions in staff in customer service is unlikely, because we've got huge volumes of phone calls.
So in my mind, Director, that would answer my previous question about the increase in building services employees. So
it probably would.
You're right. So they are now dealing specifically with development questions.
No. So through the General Manager, the way customer service was previously structured, you had essentially the face-to-face customer service staff that operate the counters at numerous locations in Yallowun, Ugunya, at Stroud, Tea Gardens, at Gloucester. You then have our call centre staff that answer all the phones, but you also had two teams of staff that provided administration and support to the building and planning teams. So following the changes I mentioned earlier, the administration team and the support team for the building and planning teams was then relocated to development assessment building certification. So whilst they're potentially shown within numbers in the building team, they're not doing building work per se. What they're doing is supporting the teams, both the planning team and the building team, to deliver essentially the excellent results that Rachel reported earlier today in relation to reducing development assessment times. So that is potentially why, and I guess when you asked the question, everyone was thinking, no, the number of building surveyors hasn't increased. That's certainly not the case, but we weren't actually thinking around the customer service change that was made. No one was thinking about that.
Okay, any speakers against? If not, I'm going to put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. That is everybody. It's carried. Moving then to 17.5, which is the Stroud Customer Service Point and Library. Director?
The purpose of this report is to seek Council's approval to permanently reduce the hours of operation of the Stroud Customer Service Point and Library. So it would operate from 9 a.m. to 12 noon on a Tuesday to a Thursday during the week.
Thank you. And noting that Councillor Beasley has left the room, you're wishing to move it, are you, Councillor Graham? Why not?
Okay. I move that the hours of operation of the Stroud Customer Service Point and Library be reduced from Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 12 noon, to Tuesday to Thursday, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on a permanent basis in order to create a more sustainable service delivery point.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Tickle. Do you wish to speak to it, Councillor Graham?
Look, it's a move in the right direction. Just obviously the libraries are a service we provide that don't really make us a lot of money, but the community likes them. So I guess it's a move in the right direction. There hasn't been a huge backlash from the community. They've got a library, albeit reduced hours, but at least it still is there and they can use it. So yeah, it's a win-win for everyone.
Thank you. Councillor Tickle.
So, thank you, Mayor. Look, I just will add that there's been an intensive consultation process before arriving at this. The findings of that were that the not going to have an overall adverse impact upon the community. It indicates that having the service Tuesday to Thursday is going to satisfy the needs of the majority. The main concern was that they did not want the service to close, which is not the case as indicated by this report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to clarify, it is more than a library. It's a customer service point where customers in the Stroud area go in to access council services, which is really important to the community. And there was, as Councillor Tickle said, some sort of nervousness in the community that this was heading towards the library and the access point closing. That's not the intention. In fact, by making this change, it makes it more viable and is more likely to stay open. So it is a positive change. Look, I know there are going to be people who turn up on Monday or Friday and find the place closed and are going to be frustrated by that. So we do ask for a bit of patience. But really, in terms of making sure that it's viable, can stay there for the long term, this has gone through the consultation. We find that not everybody's going to be happy, but minimal impact by just changing to Tuesday to Thursday. And I see some in the report as well about possibly the future community access model might be an option to look at, where people can get after hours access to other libraries in our region. That might be something we can add at some point in the future. But yes, it'll be inconvenient if you turn up on Monday or Friday, but we just ask for a bit of patience because we do want to keep that service available for the Stroud community. So it'll be there Tuesday to Thursday.
Just a point of clarification. Currently, the centre is not reopened on Monday and Friday. We've just continued the trial up until now.
Yeah, before the trial.
Yep.
Thank you. Anything else? No, I'm going to put them. Oh, sorry. What are you doing? You're voting? You want to speak? Yes. Yeah. I wasn't sure because I called for the vote. Councillor O'Keefe.
Thank you. Question or two to begin to the Director. Can you give us an honest assessment of the community engagement on this particular matter in terms of numbers and outcome?
Through the General Manager, in my opinion, the team has done a great job trying to engage a community around a service that's not highly used. Statistically, more people in that part of the world use our online services than use face-to-face services. We have a fantastic staff member that operates both the customer service point and the library, who's a very well-known person in the local community, does a fantastic job and really is the lifeblood of that facility. I think Stroud's in an interesting position. It is geographically isolated from the main headquarters here at Taree. People do have a range of different areas that they gravitate to. So online services for that community are not uncommon to them. You've also got a post office there that provides a number of services that the council office provides in relation to paying bills and accessing, I guess, paying council fees and charges. I think at the end of the day, engagement around a service point is large when people are really concerned about it, and it is not so large when people aren't really concerned about it. Having said that, the engagement occurred during a period of time where I wasn't with the organisation, and I can only read the engagement report. And for mine, they've tried as hard to engage with the community on this as any other project, and I wouldn't think necessarily there's anything untoward about the process that was undertaken in relation to the engagement.
I wouldn't suggest anything like that either. I just noted numbers like 24 responses. To me, that feels like a low number, but I do wonder if it's a matter of the locals choosing to engage as much as they could, or maybe even being aware of ways the council tries to engage with them.
I think
Comment on
the
that?
locals are generally aware. They're generally aware, as I said, there's a very well-known local person that operates that facility, and they're generally aware around the changes, particularly the workplace changes in relation to the operation of those facilities. So I wouldn't think the community is not aware. I think the biggest issue for the community has been raised by councillors and has outlined in the engagement report is the concern around the facilities closing altogether. At this point in time, provided they stay open at those restricted hours and our wonderful customer service and library staff in that location continue to do the great job that they do, the community is going to be generally happy. It's if there are other changes, then potentially there will be something to talk about.
The numbers are bleak. What is it? $59 per customer interaction is what it costs council, unless I'm reading that wrong.
No, you're not reading that wrong.
Yeah.
You said that the numbers aren't great.
No.
In both library use and general customer service, which is the whole reason why it was trialled to reduce the hours of operation.
Yep.
Exactly why we did it.
So I'm reading that right. And I can't disagree with that. I was there the other week talking to a group about the bicentenary of Stroud, which is this year.
November.
In November, yes. Something I hope to talk more about in and amongst council. Stroud was once upon a time the centre of its own shire and council, Stroud Shire Council. So whether or not engagement was up to scratch, and I've heard plenty here that it was, while I was there, with last there were plenty of offhand comments that, they didn't tell us or it wasn't made clear enough. So I'm questioning both sides of it at this point, and I think I've tried to make that clear now. I'll certainly question it in a more personal way too. I'll come back to that number, 24 responses. Yeah.
It is what it is, Councillor.
I know. The last question I just wanted to absolutely verify was, is foreclosure on the horizon
Foreclosure.
of the service point and library?
Do you mean closure?
Full closure. as in
Closure. I think
shut
it can-
down.
I
Is that
think-
on the horizon?
So what I would say to that through the General Manager is this report doesn't talk about full closure. It talks about reducing the hours of operation. As has been said by me in this forum many, many times, we are happy to provide facilities to the community if the community use those facilities. And I've heard you use words to a similar effect, Councillor O'Keefe, around the community has to actually come out and use the facilities and has to engage and it has to be part of it. Otherwise, we're essentially providing a service, expending ratepayers' money that's not being used, and that's not efficient, it's not effective. So it's up to the community in that location to come out in support of that facility and to use it.
I like it when other people say the point I'm trying to make. Thank you.
Thank you. So I just need a bit of catch up. Councillor Mill left the room and returned to the room, and Councillor Beasley is now back in the room because I'm going to put the motion. All in favour? Sorry, yeah, that hand is up. And those against? One councillor voted against and the rest voted for, so the motion's carried. Moving to 17.6, Records and Information Management Policy. Director?
The purpose of this report is to present the draft Records and Information Management Policy, it's version number 1, to Council for adoption. Policy has been exhibited in accordance with our community engagement policy and no submissions were received.
Thank you. Mover, please. Councillor O'Keefe.
Righty. I move that the draft Records Information Management Policy attachment 1B adopted, keyword adopted, and 2, Records Management Policy version 3 be rescinded.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Tickle. Do you wish to speak to it, Councillor O'Keefe?
No.
Councillor Tickle.
I'm going to say, Mayor, this has been on exhibition and there was no one responded, which would indicate that there's no one had objections to it. Thank you, Mayor.
Indeed. Anything else? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. That was everybody. It's carried. 17.7. 7, which is matters before the court. Director?
This report both lists and provides an update on all the matters that are currently before all the various courts.
Thank you. Mover, please. Councillor Howard?
I move that the report be noted.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Wilson, any discussion or questions on
No,
this?
thank you.
No. Put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. That is carried. All right, that gets us to the end, I think. Double check. Yes.
Yep.
So item 19.1 is questions with notice, and Councillor Tickle lodged 3 questions, all to do with industrial land and zoning at Hallidays Point. And the answers to that are in the business paper, which now gets us to the final matter on the agenda, which is matters of urgent business. Do any councillors or staff have any matters of urgent business they wish to raise today? Councillor Beasley.
The urgent business seems to have been answered, and I'm happy with the results, so I will not, therefore, even though it's time for urgent business, be going ahead with it. It seems that the anomaly has been repaired. So,
Terrific. Thank you very much. Then that gets us right to the end. So I can declare the meeting closed at 4:30. Thank you, everybody, and thank you to the minutes.